2024 meeting of the Franklin Village Council to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Dana, will you take the roll, please?
President Lamont,
Here.
Trustee Salzman,
Here.
Trustee Hanky,
Here.
Trustee Goldberg,
Here.
Trustee Solly,
Here.
Trustee Ehrlich,
Here.
Trustee Hansen.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt. I second.
Any comments or any
Yeah,
changes?
I would like to move the consider first reading of the golf cart ordinance and consider Extenet system application as early as possible on the agenda so as to not hold people.
As early as,
We do that
Sure.
before special reports? or-
Sure. put it right after submission of bills?
Yep.
Great.
I'm okay with that. Any other changes or?
We had a closed session, Mike?
Oh, and we'll go into closed session after special reports.
So we'll add a 9A or whatever, closed session.
And Mike, we're proposing the council goes to the Krieger House?
Yeah. We're gonna adjourn, go over to the Krieger House as a council, and then come back and go back into session.
Okay, any other changes? All in favor of the amended agenda, aye?
Aye.
Okay, minutes of the July 8th meeting, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Any comments?
Nope, we're good.
All looks good. All in favor?
Aye.
And then the August 1st meeting, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the special meeting.
I second.
Any comments? No comments?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public requests and comments. I've got a lot of people here tonight, so the 2-minute rule will be in effect. So come on up to the podium, identify yourself. Two. And we're gonna,
Bill,
I'm sorry?
these are supposed to be items not on the agenda.
Oh, these are supposed to be.
These are, yeah, these are items that are not on the agenda that we're addressing right now. Yep.
I'm not able to stay for the duration of the meeting. My name is Beth Dillon. I live on Carroll. I just wanted to, I submitted some paperwork in regards to the golf cart ordinance for last month's meeting that got postponed. I have additional signatures for my petition and just a cover letter. I can't stay for the whole meeting and speak about it at the end, so I just want to submit that with the other paperwork that you should have previously received. There are 21 additional signatures. As I've spoken before, I don't believe it's safe. I think it undermines the character of the village, and I really hope that you take into consideration the chief of police's stance on this as well. So I just want to submit this to you for consideration when it comes up, as well as my verbal opposition also to the cell phone tower that's going to be presented to you later this meeting as well. And I appreciate your time.
Ready? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Any other public requests and comments?
Must be somebody's phone ringing, sorry, I didn't know what it was.
That's it for public requests and comments?
So anything regarding the cell or the, or wait,
We'll handle those when
and the
Public-
golf cart will wait?
the, right. Okay, reports of village officers and agents. Chief Roberts for the final report from Chief Roberts.
Yes, that's true. Good evening, everyone. You should have our written submission. In terms of the crimes report, I just wanted to mention one thing, and just so everybody's up to speed. You know, we've had the run of the South American burglars, 2 of which we are investigating, one in Franklin and one in Bingham Farms. Well, recently there were some arrests made in that. I don't know if you saw the news on that. There were 5 individuals who were arrested by the Troy Police Department. They did a phenomenal job with that. One of those individuals may be cooperating with us, and so we're working closely with Troy on that, and maybe we'll get a lucky break and be able to solve our 2 burglaries as well. But I just wanted to bring you up to speed. There haven't been any, ours occurred last fall. We haven't had, knock on wood, any in Franklin or Bingham Farms since that time. But we're hopeful this, this arrest will also cool things down quite a bit. Other than that, I don't have much crime to report to you. I do want to update you on our hiring. As you know, we're still short 1 full-time officer. Deputy Chief Lawson and I have been interviewing candidates. We have 1 in background now that we like, and we hope that the background check goes well. In fact, he is doing a number of interviews tomorrow on that as well. So that being said, if the candidate works out well in terms of the background, we'll be ready to bring them on as soon as possible, probably within a few weeks, and get them going. The nice part is this candidate also has a few years of police experience already, and so it shouldn't be hard to train them and get them up to speed. So we're excited about that. Hope it works out. And that's all I have on the police report, unless you have questions for me. I do want to make a couple of...
We have a few comments.
I do want to make a couple of comments, too, about my leaving, but I'll...
You go first.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that it's been enjoyable working with you. You're a professional guy. You've brought the right people on board. You've kept us safe. I don't know what else we could ask for, and we're going to really miss you.
Well, thank you.
But we wish you well in your retirement years, which probably won't be very long, my guess, but you never know. So,
Well,
but
thank you. I
again, thanks so
appreciate
much for everything you've done.
You've got a great, thank you. 12 years went by fast, I have to tell you, as your chief here in 12 years, but a lot of people don't know that I had a prior career with the FBI. I actually retired from them after 25 years with them, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife, who's sitting here, and our 2 kids. Dragged them around 8 states. We moved 13 times during my kids were growing up, and you know, Franklin is obviously one of the best places that we ever lived in the country, and we're obviously going to stay here as well. Our home is here, and we look forward to staying here. But I did want to thank the council, not only Franklin Council, but Bingham Farms. They've been supportive of the police department my entire time here, by and large, and I really appreciate that. The officers, I know, really appreciate that as well. I also wanted to thank Jim Kokensbacher, a prior president here, because he's the one who actually hired me. He took a chance, and I appreciate him for doing that, although he is sitting on the beach somewhere up in Burt Lake. I probably will never hear these thanks, but I appreciate him. And finally, just thanks to the staff. I am so blessed now to have the most diverse and best trained staff of officers and professional support on the department that the department's ever had. And just a great group of people. If you'll permit me one quick story, I actually worked on the Franklin Police Department young in my career when I was 21 years old. I worked here when we had no functioning police cars. I was driving one to a run. I was actually going to assist the fire department on a car fire on Telegraph. I remember it like it was yesterday, and this was 1982 or 1983, something like that. And the last patrol car that we had, the wheel fell off as I was literally driving to it. So I can honestly say that I worked at the Franklin Police Department when we didn't even have any police cars that ran, and we've come a long way since then. It's a great group of people, great equipment, and so I'm excited to, and I know Kurt will carry on the legacy and do even better than I did. So thank you very much for everything. I'm not going to take your time. I just want to thank all of you for your support over the years. So.
Can I
Hang
just
on, we
say
got-
also, on a personal note, what a pleasure you are and your entire family, and you've made us look good. You have done just such a great job in this community, and we are just so happy and so proud to have known
thank
you. And as a guy who's had probably more house checks than most anybody else, I greatly appreciate when my ring goes off and there's an officer checking my front door and walking around my house.
Oh, good.
You've done a great job,
Well,
and
thank
we
you.
are so grateful, and we thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And wish you
Again,
all
it's
the
for the
best.
staff. So thanks.
Now get out of here.
Okay, fire report. Tony's here.
just want to add, with Chief Roberts' retirement, you'll be able to find him as he's wearing his suit and tie while he's cutting his grass. So, with that said, the fire department has been involved in some very unique responses over the past 2 months. The fire that we had back in June remains under investigation, so I have nothing that I can state with regard to that. Hopefully, the investigation will conclude by the county in the near future, and we can share the report. With reference to the incident that occurred at the Music on the Green, I'm very thankful for our fire personnel who responded to the bee stings, as well as the village and its DPW, Johnson Landscaping contractor, for taking care of the beehive. We look forward to working with the FCA, and we've already had some initial discussions with reference to Labor Day, and as always, looking forward to working with the Historical Society for the 200th anniversary pancake breakfast. Hopefully the pancakes will not be 200 years old, but the recipe may be. With that said, the fire department remains heavily involved in inspection and testing of equipment and apparatus. You'll be seeing things happening over the next 2 weeks. And other than that, pending your questions, you have my written report, so that will conclude my report.
Any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good job. Okay, treasurer's report, Lance.
Good evening, trustees and president. Please accept my written report in the capacity as the village treasurer. The bills list report for this month totals $93,685.72, and I don't think that's accurate, so I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Just hold on 1 second. Excuse me for 1 second. Rather, $337,760.27. I saw on the bills list there was a large entry of, and I'll just do this impromptu, $134,706.20. That's for estimate 14 of the streetscape project that we paid to Asphalt Specialists Incorporated. Second. The amounts in the bills list are consistent with normal monthly spending. The expenditures are generally consistent with our budget, and the village has sufficient funds to meet its current and anticipated obligations, and the list of account balances in the package is as of August the 1st that we hold at First Merchants Bank. Any questions?
I have a question, Lance. It's probably more to Roger.
Sure.
So with regards to the streetscape project, can you give us a quick update on where the project sits from, have we paid our bills? Is it done? Do we owe anybody? What is the remaining money that we should expect to disperse?
The only thing that's left is the retention that we had in the contract.
Okay,
This was the last bill that they submitted. We had some conversations back and forth between the engineering firm that oversees all of that stuff and us. There are a few minor items that we agree still need to be taken care of, and that'll be covered by the retention. It's about $30,000.
okay. There was, what was held back? I thought it was about what was the original retention fund?
The original retention was about $200,000.
That's what I thought. Okay, so we're down, so there's about 30,000 that need to be figured out? Okay, thank you.
There were 60 items, as I recall, on the open items list. Those,
Most of those are relatively minor items, but they include things like the caps on some of the walls, some of the landscape stuff that was done. Most of that list, when we walked through it the last time, had been all taken care of.
With regards to the caps and the stone walls, there was considerable damage when we took a walk a few months ago. Can you, what has happened with that?
Nothing yet. They had some difficulty getting a hold of the stonemason.
Yeah.
And getting him freed up to do this stuff. But that was part of the commitment that they had made to us to get them here.
Okay, and once he's here, then deciding what to do is the next thing, or have we
We have a list
decided?
of corrections that need to be made,
Yeah,
stones that are out of place, some blocks that, the stone caps that were cracked.
will those be replaced, or is he gonna try and mortar them? I'm asking because they're so pristine, and I'm not interested in having a bunch of patches on our walls in year 3.
My understanding is that, you know, the blocks, that are the caps,
Yes,
those will be replaced.
okay,
New pieces, the others will be, fit in, because they're part of the stone block walls.
right, and I was with you, so I know what you're talking about. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Any other comments about the bills list?
I had one comment. You know, I know that we always donate money for, oh, no, never mind, this is for never mind. Never
Okay,
mind.
withdraw that comment. Any
Never
other
mind,
comments?
withdraw my comment.
Then all in favor of approving the bills list, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
It was.
Okay, we're gonna switch around the agenda here, and the next item will be consider the first reading of the golf cart ordinance. So we need a motion to
Motion
get
to
this thing.
consider the first reading of the golf cart ordinance.
A
Second.
Okay. You have a packet in your, an explanation here, a letter from McKenna dated June 21st, proposes a specific, 15-point ordinance. Do we need to explain this, or does everybody?
I would like, because we've got an audience here and an audience at home, I
Okay.
wonder if Stuart or someone who has been close to this could give us a rundown on the project.
Okay, we'll let the chairman of the planning commission talk. Stuart Williams.
Council asked that the planning commission look through adjacent communities and other communities within within Michigan for the use and creating an ordinance for golf carts to allow them in the village. Currently, in the state of Michigan, golf carts are not allowed on any roads unless explicitly permitted by the local ordinances. So, in order for this to happen, the village would need to create an ordinance. So, the planning commission was tasked to write an ordinance that would help permit golf carts for the village. So what we presented to you in the packet is a list of safety requirements that we recommend. Though overarching, just when we were initially asked to create an ordinance for golf carts, Planning Commission didn't think it was in the character of the village, so we rejected originally, brought back to us. So the ordinance you have on the table is what we think is the best ordinance possible, even though we still don't think a golf cart ordinance is good for the village. But this is the best ordinance that we feel like would meet the requirements that were put forth by the council. So there are certain requirements, there are certain regulations, 15 regulations that we recommend. The first 11 are not negotiable. The state of Michigan sets them forth for us, and we can't change them. But the regulations for 12 through 15 are optional. So optional safety requirements that we're looking at are at least 2 headlamps that comply with section 685 of the Michigan Vehicle Code, 1 tail lamp that complies with the same code, 1 stop lamp and 1 lamp for mechanical signal devices, and at least 1 red reflector on each side of the cart. As far as the rear as practical, and 1 red reflector on the rear of the golf cart is required by low-speed vehicles. So we also have recommended there's options of having 1 exterior mirror mounted to the driver's side of the golf cart so that you can see out off your left side, and an interior mirror as well required for just like you would have for low-speed vehicles. Brakes and parking brake that comply with with section 704 of the Michigan Vehicle Code, a horn that complies with section 106 of the Michigan Vehicle Code, a windshield that complies with section 708 of the vehicle, of Michigan Vehicle Code, and a manufacturer's identification permanently affixed to the frame of the golf cart. One option would be to have safety belts that comply with that section 110, and that they're used while using the vehicle, the golf cart, and then potentially another option would be crash helmets required for low-speed vehicles. Those are all optional requirements that you can add to the ordinance. We also have a map that we recommend. The map is not part of the ordinance. The map is informational only. Dana, could you throw up the map from the packet, please? And basically, the reason why we put the map in here is so that the council would understand that also per Michigan requirements that any road that is faster than 30 miles an hour golf carts will not be permitted regardless of whatever ordinance we write into the code. I believe it is page 44. The packet, yeah. So all of the areas in blue, unfortunately, do not have direct contact with a road that would get you to downtown, permitting if you're on a golf cart. You would be able to drive in your driveway as well as on your road, but there are no direct crossings that would allow you to or enable you to drive downtown on the golf cart. So everywhere in white would be permitted to utilize a golf cart.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Because I think this is really critical. And I don't know how many people can see this map here in the room, probably nobody. And I don't know if anybody can see it at home. Okay, they can see it at home. But I think this item, number 3, is really the salient item that needs to be called out. And I can either read it or you can.
Sure. You're talking about
Golf cart ordinance analysis map.
Oh, yes.
According to the Michigan Vehicle Code, golf carts shall not be operated on streets with a speed limit of more than 30 miles per hour, except to cross the street using the most direct line of crossing. Thus, travel on 13-mile, 14-mile, and Inkster roads would be prohibited. In addition, travel on Franklin Road would be prohibited with few exceptions pursuant to item 12 in the ordinance. Based on these restrictions, golf cart operators living in certain parts of the village would not legally be able to use them to drive to downtown Franklin. These parts of the village are depicted on the map. The point is, for the most part, I think people's interest was having the ability to get into downtown on their golf cart. And that is not possible.
Well, but also, a lot of them can, and this is our first take on it, Michael.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing
Okay,
too is,
well-
in your statement about the use on Franklin Road, north of 13 Mile, are you saying that legally people are not allowed to? Or per how you
So
wrote the ordinance?
yes, so 13, technically, if you're on Franklin Road, south of 13 Mile, it's a 30-mile-an-hour road. We do not recommend having a golf cart, and the ordinance excludes Franklin Road, which would then prevent some individuals. However, even if you live on 13 Mile road, you have a direct cross of 13 Mile. I'm sorry, if you live south of 13 Mile, you could cross, and Franklin could be your artery. But anyone that's been around the bend south of 13 Mile on that blind curve, I would hope that you would think twice before taking a golf cart on Franklin Road, even though it's a 30-mile-an-hour road. So that's why we recommend not having Franklin Road be a permitted road.
So that's based off of a recommendation, not legally.
That's right. Yeah, that is.
And that doesn't necessarily, to your reading, read that way, right? The other thing, I guess, is was Peter consulted with regard to the interpretation of, most direct line of crossing? I think that's not something that I want an opinion on right now, as I think it takes a more detailed analysis, but was he consulted in arriving at that conclusion?
No, there was a definition for it that we followed.
Okay. And that definition was written into the ordinance?
No, it's
Or
it's written in the statute.
In the statute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So let me just go over some other overview points from the ordinance, unless you want to, we can read through the whole ordinance as well, which we probably should take time to go through. But it's written just like a normal ordinance would be with, the pursuant section of the vehicle code that allows golf carts that we're addressing that as the basis of our ordinance. And then definition of a driver's license, which I think, for most people is fairly straightforward. What a golf cart is, so it's transportation intended for playing of the game of golf. So not gators are separate, off-road vehicles are separate, and they have their own licensing structure as well. So if you had like a side-by-side, you'd have it would be a different code. It would not be covered under this ordinance. And state of Michigan also regulates those differently. Operate means the actual physical control of operating the golf cart. The operator is the person under the control of the golf cart. And then street means roadway, road, lane, court, drive. Typical definition you expect from a road. But it's and then the operation of golf cart for the village streets. So, so here are can you go up to page 41, please? So those that don't have a copy can. Okay, so so 41, if you scroll down to, I think it's, yes, down to, letter C, yeah. So from there, a person may operate a golf cart only on village streets subject to the following regulations. So like I said a minute ago, 1 through 11, a lot of those stipulations are based upon what the state of Michigan provides and we cannot change those as a planning commission or a village. So it says so operating requirements: a person shall not operate a golf cart on any street in the village unless he or she is at least 16 years old and licensed to operate a motor vehicle. In other words, has a driver's license. Signalization: the operator of a golf cart shall comply with the signal requirements in section 648 of the Michigan Vehicle Code that apply to operation of a vehicle. So, you have to signal before turning or stopping. You have to identify that you're stopping. Right on the road or side of a street, a person operating a golf cart upon a village street shall ride as near to the right side of the street as practicable, exercising due care when passing a standing vehicle or a vehicle proceeding in the same direction. The use on state trunk lines. A person shall not operate the golf cart on a state trunk line, highway, so Telegraph Road example is a good example. This regulation does not prohibit a person from crossing a straight trunk line highway when operating a golf cart on a street in the village using the most direct line of crossing. So, you can cross 13 Mile, you can cross, you can't cross 14 Mile because you'll go into another municipality. Passing a person.
Sure, I don't think that's necessary to read the whole thing.
Okay, what would you like from me then?
No, I mean, I'm satisfied with what you've written.
Okay.
I appreciate what you've done.
All right.
In consideration, many communities in state of Michigan allow golf carts. They're by and large, there are no issues. Biggest one I know of local to us is Milford, much bigger than we are. And, by and large, the communities that have it, they love them once they have them. And they're.
So we spoke with Milford as well, and one of the commissioners, and Sarah Greslick spoke with them, and they mentioned that it's actually a benefit for them with golf carts because they don't have a lot of parking at the golf course. So it helps a lot of the members of Milford to get to the golf course via golf cart. And so that's one of the resident benefits that they have of having golf carts that they've enjoyed.
And so there's no safety issues they've found? Did they report any safety issues?
I believe my understanding is that I don't know if they've had any additional safety concerns with regards to accidents in addition to regular motor vehicle.
They did not report any safety issues?
I don't believe that was as much of a concern, no.
Thank you.
And then, just to be clear on the definition of most direct line of crossing, was that directly out of the golf cart ordinance? Because I'm not seeing the definition, and so again, I'm just trying to pull all the information together.
I believe it was part of the section 657A of the Michigan Vehicle Code. I believe that's where we got it from.
Right, it doesn't define that.
It doesn't? Okay.
I think it's up for interpretation in a lot of degrees, but I think
That's why I was asking whether our attorney was consulted on
Sure.
the conclusion.
But I think that was one of the discussions that was had at the planning commission, was that, for example, taking Woodside across the street, it seems like it's close enough, like why couldn't you cross it? But when you think about the way that the hill is and the cars that are coming over a hill, it's very hard to.
There's no
see
direct cross.
oncoming. It's not straight and it's.
Okay,
And it's
again, I was asking whether or not that legal conclusion was
I'm
arrived
just
at
giving an example,
by our
that's all.
paid attorney.
Just giving you an example.
I have not reviewed it, but I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, but we're here to hear the people that are here, representing the people of the community. So I think,
Stuart, have you completed your other?
If you're good with what I've shared, I'm happy to step aside and answer any other
for Stuart
questions.
Before we let him go here?
Nope, thank you.
I mean, I'm here, so you can always call me back up.
Okay, any comments with village council?
no, I'm just anxious to hear from our.
Okay, let's, we can hear from the public, because there's so many of you, we're gonna enforce the 2-minute rule here. We're gonna have a timer on the screen, and Mike, you wanna hold up the
When you get to this point, you'll see this.
watch mic, so. Okay, come on up, identify yourself. You have 2 minutes.
No.
We're talking about the golf cart
No,
ordinance.
this is on golf carts.
Oh, no one's gonna say anything, I'll say something, because you are correct. I live on.
Could you identify yourself?
Oh, David Fishman.
Yeah.
I've lived in Franklin for 50-something years now. First thing I'll say is, first of all, I love living in Franklin, and part of the reason I love living in Franklin is the charm of Franklin. I'm not interested in the charm of being on a golf course in Franklin, and that's what it sounds like to me. It's convenient to get to the golf course. That's great. We don't have a golf course, and I don't see a need, and actually I see it as eventually people having their kids. Oh, yeah, well, they're 60, but I'm driving right next to them. It's a recipe to me, and at night, even bigger recipe disaster. I live on the south side, a 13-mile. There's no way I can get across with a golf cart. If you try and turn on a regular car crossing 13 off of Woodside, it's a blind spot right there. And that's a good example right there. And there's other blind spots in Franklin. So between the potential harm of individuals, the idea of losing a charm of what Franklin's about, it seems in a lot of areas that you can't even use it at all. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, and I've lived here a long time and enjoyed the fact that it's been more of the town, the town that time forgot. Let's continue to forget about some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back to election budget. That's all I have time for that.
Step up.
Step up, identify yourself, and take your 2 minutes.
Rebecca Gale. I live on Kirk Lane. I've lived in Franklin for 66 years. Do we really need golf carts in Franklin? That's my question. And I guess my biggest concern would be that I don't think we have roads that are adequate so that they would be safe. We don't have shoulders such as they have in the Sun Cities or the Florida communities. So I'm opposed to it.
Come on. Come on up.
Come on up to the mic, please. Identify yourself and
Erica Jordan, I live on Woodside, and she made it so simple. It would take away our charm, our safe, everybody walks their dogs. What about the deer and everything that cross? It just seems like it would be unsafe to have golf carts. And just like she said, we have the gravel on the side. We don't have a community that's dictated for golf carts. Sorry.
Thank you.
Josette Silver, Wellington Road. I've lived here about 50 years. It's very dangerous. We take our tractor out periodically, and they're just exactly like people said. There is no way to get off the road. If something happens, for instance, the house next to me, the rocks are right on the road. You can't even get off the road or get around anywhere. I think it's preposterous, unsafe, and a really sad idea. Hi, my name's Terry Tadero. I've been here for about 24 years, and I just think the golf carts are very unsafe. We have got big lush trees, and it's beautiful, and I love it. But going down Wellington, I mean, just actually today, I was stopped, and I was ready to go, and here comes a golf cart. I didn't see it. I was totally stopped. It was kind of hidden by trees. I just find them visibly very hard to see and unsafe, and I would feel horrible to accidentally hurt anybody in that situation, so I'm opposed. Thank you.
Hi. Dana, did you read into the record the letters of support that you received for golf carts? Okay, so the people represented here today are people that have been long-term residents of Franklin and probably, you know, were able to get sitters for their children.
Record, would you say your name?
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear other people do it, so I wasn't sure if we had to. Okay, Angelina Slaka, 26172 Meadow Drive. So there's 70-plus people that signed a petition that couldn't be here today or call in, plus additional letters of support. I think all of the comments, or actually I heard all the comments here is about fear and safety. And change is very scary. And that is really the underlying tone here. And luckily, the Michigan legislature put in 11, and Stuart said that like 12 times, 11 safety restrictions to make sure that this ordinance was thoughtfully, carefully designed in order to be the most safe it could be for Michigan residents. And we are in a position as a small town to add to our charm. People are already riding golf carts around. I see them 6 days a week when I'm downtown. And all we're asking is for this council to regulate that, make it safer for us. Make them have headlights. Make them only drive between dusk, not drive between dusk and dawn. It is happening. It's like cell phones. People are using cell phones in their car. You can't stop it, but you know what they do? Hands-free, come through the Bluetooth. You can't prevent people from doing what they're already doing, but you can regulate it. You can create a safe community by adding to its charm, open air areas to gather and celebrate the history of Franklin. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, for speaking. Now, I've been a part of communities that have these golf carts. And every community that has started it, they've all expressed similar concerns, you know, all sorts of abstract, ambiguous, you know, safety this, safety that. No community has ever gone backwards. Every community is able to undo an ordinance. Every community is able to, you know, take golf carts away if people are acting badly, just like take cars, licenses away. None of those communities has ever gone backwards and undone those ordinances. They all have grown to love the golf carts and becomes, like Angela said, much more the charm. So it is the exact opposite of what a lot of people are afraid of. They tend to not to be a safety issue in any manner at all. And I've seen this personally for many years in other communities I'm part of.
Anybody else comments on the golf cart ordinance? Do you have a golf
Hi,
cart?
Kat Phillips. I live on Woodside Drive, and I just would like to encourage the council to think about some of the other things that golf carts would entail, meaning regulation. Angelina mentioned that there's golf carts speeding around right now, and there's no way for our police to enforce that. So how in the world, when we have now golf carts allowed, how is that going to be regulated truly? Like, we're going to need additional staff potentially to try and regulate some of this activity and that sort of thing. We've been talking to a lot of neighbors, and some of the concerns regarding golf carts is just the additional busyness on the streets. Like, if people go out for a run, you know, they were in their headphones and now they're running, they've got golf carts to be concerned about. There are people walking their dogs. It's very disruptive to have a golf cart whizzing by. And a lot of the communities that are advocating and do really well with golf carts actually are golf communities. So they know what to expect. They understand the whole golf cart thing. But I think Franklin is a little different in that we're a residential community who's never had golf carts. So it would be sort of an uphill sort of acclimation process and regulation process. How do we work with signage, parking, you know, stuff like that? But also just, I'm thinking about the wildlife and how that might be disruptive for the wildlife. Just thinking about this in terms of like the minutia that might be involved in working with this. And also I feel like not the entire community is really not engaged with this capability, right? So we've got a lot of the community that would be left out of this situation. Okay,
So I appreciate your thoughts on that. And thinking about that, I think back 10 years ago, when it was proposed to start doing roundabouts. Now that itself, a roundabout on all our streets around here, the roundabouts cause such consternation, these are unsafe.
I live on Oak Leaf Lane.
I'm sorry.
I walk my dog every morning and afternoon, and I have to cross 13 miles. You know how long I have to wait to get across? Golf cart, we're gonna give them priority or something? And how many golf carts are we talking about? How many people have golf carts that wanna use them in Franklin? And where are you gonna park them? Do we need them?
Oh, thank you. Back to my comments about the roundabouts. Remember, roundabouts were proposed, and all the concern people had that there's no more stop signs. Those roundabouts now have proven to be very popular, very successful, and all those safety concerns at the time have fallen by the wayside. Those intersections with roundabouts, they are far, far safer than what the people against it were concerned at the time.
Okay, let's continue.
Can I address that for a minute?
No, we
That
have
was
other
a-
people.
Okay, that was
Anybody else?
it's about movement.
I do think that the
You wanna
police.
identify yourself,
Whoops,
please?
my name is Cindy Sherburne. I'm at 30950 Woodside. It's the southeast corner of 13 Mile and Woodside Drive. So I'm here about a couple of things today. But I'm an inveterate dog walker. I was until my dog died almost 2 years ago now. I walked him all the time. I can tell you how narrow those roads are. I can tell you how I've been almost pushed off the road by cars. My dog always walked off the road because I could move out of the way, but I couldn't guarantee he could. So I was always concerned about my dog. You add a golf court to these narrow roads, and people like me who walk, people who run, people who do these types of things every day on a daily basis suddenly are not as safe as they were. Now I'm going to talk about your roundabout, because one of the most unsafe intersection in this whole state is that roundabout on Orchard Lake at Northwestern. That's just terrible. It's a terrible roundabout. There have been more accidents than anywhere else. So I don't agree that they're entirely safe. If you're talking about the little tiny ones, they're still scary. People still don't know what to expect of that guy over there. Are they going to turn? Are they going to keep going? What do you have to do? So there are still issues with roundabouts, and one of the big accident areas is that area on Orchard Lake Road. So, and of course, it's conveniently in more than one jurisdiction. So they always have to figure out where the accident was before they can call the police. That's a real problem when you think about it. Thank you. So what I have to say about this is they're too narrow. Please turn this down. It's not safe for people who've been doing that. I've been a resident here for quite a while. I'm more concerned about my safety and the safety of other dog walkers and people like me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good thought. When I think about the narrow roadways, if anything,
Let's
a car
public
is.
comments. Can you hold it until we have, let's finish public comments. Okay. Any other public comments out here about,
There are a couple more back there.
I'm Mary Wright. I live at 26775 Crestwood Drive. Access to our house is Service Drive. Some of you may know it who walk your dogs and bicycle there. My concern is we have an ordinance that allows construction and thereby construction vehicles from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days of the week. We wait for 7 p.m. on Saturday night to finally go out on our deck because there are probably 4 or 5 construction permits within a half a mile of our house right now. So we have all that congestion, and then we also do not control when you can have your pool cleaned or your lawn landscaper. And sometimes to work your way through all of these trucks, especially on Monday, trash day, is really dangerous. And my husband and I walk, we e-bike, and we, of course, drive through Franklin. And I think we have enough turkeys to avoid right now, and I think adding golf carts is maybe not such a great idea unless they were permitted to be used on special occasions like Labor Day Festival or certainly the parade, or maybe on the holiday events down here in the village. Maybe that would be appropriate, but I can't see adding any more congestion to what we already have in Franklin. Thank you.
Bethany Reyes, 24477 Riverwood, to remember my address. I am in favor of golf carts. I feel called to speak because I signed the petition, and a lot of the other people that signed it aren't here. I am definitely concerned in making them safe and regulating them, as Angelina was saying. I think that when things are already happening, it's important to regulate it so that you can also make some money off of it as a village, to permit it and make sure it's regulated and safe. It would also provide us access to downtown. So I am still a little confused about that map. I don't know if there's going to be a clarification or if we're all confused about the map, because I heard the map was nothing, like, you asked a great question that seemed to need some clarification, that I still don't understand that map. Does that mean that only the places that weren't blacked out would be accessible for golf carts? And that's
the implication.
That's correct.
That's the implication.
And if you're
Okay.
in
Map's not part
Riverwood,
of
if
the
you're in Riverwood on the 14th
Yeah, yeah.
Riverwood side,
You
there's
wouldn't
no-
be able to.
can't. There's no there's no question there. Oh, this is Riverwood. Oh, you're fine with Riverwood.
Right.
Riverwood's fine.
So for us, with young kids, to be able to put them in the cart and take them down to the events that are in the park or down to downtown Franklin it'd be fun. It'd be something that when I'm showing homes to young clients in the area, they're excited at that idea. It's a selling point for people to be able to maneuver around Franklin because there isn't sidewalks. I 100% agree that safety is an issue. Like when I walk, I get pushed off the road, so I hear that. I think that that is also an issue of people speeding and not getting ticketed. So that would be my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speeders are a problem.
Anybody else on
Anybody else?
golf cart comments? Going,
Is it
going,
our turn to comment?
gone, okay.
Yeah,
Counsel? David?
so safety was a major concern for a lot of people. Were talking about it, even looking at this. And when I was approached with regard to bring this forward, safety was a big concern of mine as well. So I had reached out to the Milford Police Department because I saw that as a community near us, similar to us, not an up north community, that has done the integration of it. I talked with their deputy police, and there was no conversation contextualizing why they do or don't have golf carts. He said that it was he was genuinely cheerful talking about it and said if there's anything that we can do to help clarify that they wanted to be of assistance, because he said that there's really been no downside and certainly not a safety downside. And as far as burden onto the police department, same thing. So from a practical, empirical example of a community that's done the integration and thought about some of those safety concerns in a non-rural community, it just wasn't there. Now, I will say that with regard to the ordinance as it currently stands, I would like to add some additional work into here to make sure that additional safety features are incorporated into the ordinance itself. I have a young family. I think a lot of people that have approached me, in fact, nearly all of them who have approached me are young families as well. So it's not the fact that they're ignorant to the potential danger, but they're looking to how do we do it in a safe way? What are all the considerations? And so I think the Planning Commission has offered some ones that are mandated by the state, some additional ones that are helpful, and then made recommendations for additional ones to be considered. So that's something that I would like to take the opportunity to add. That's it for me.
Can I make a suggestion also that we invite our deputy chief to come speak to this issue? Because I know our chief has spoken to it, and I'd like to hear Kurt's opinion of this from a law enforcement perspective.
So the chief's been very vocal about his opposition to golf carts. And I think there is some validity because as a law enforcement entity, we have to talk about safety and our concerns, that there's the potential for something bad to happen. There's a potential for someone to have too much to drink and drive their golf cart. There's a potential that kids will sneak out of the house, take the golf cart, and be on the road. But will these things happen or not happen? I don't know. But as far as the police department, we do have some safety concerns regarding golf carts. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, chief.
So I've thought a lot about the golf carts, and I have seen who I think is a grandpa driving around with his grandkids in the car, could be a dad, and really having a great time. And I get the novelty of it, and I see the joy on their faces. And I have a friend who lives on Oakleaf, and he wants golf carts adamantly bad, but he doesn't have access to the downtown or even to get across 13 to get to where his mother-in-law is building a home. But there might be ways of connecting that, and might be ways of working with a property here and being able to let him cross it. So I get, and he really, really wants it. But having worked with a lot of kids during Roundup with golf carts, I see the impulsiveness on a golf cart. I see the ability of putting 10,000 kids on a golf cart at once. I see speeding with a golf cart, making bad decisions, making fast turns, people falling off of golf carts. But more, I think, concerning than anything is the idea of crossing 13 Mile Road on a golf cart. Because golf carts are not predictable. You push forward really fast, and sometimes the golf cart doesn't move. Sometimes it sputters forward and it doesn't move. And I worry that a person who is not used to driving a golf cart will be able to cross 13 Mile Road and predict a 40-mile-an-hour car, maybe driving 45 miles an hour, whatever, coming down at them, thinking I can make it across, but then have the golf cart not go quite as fast as you thought it was going to go and not take off quite as fast. And I worry about that golf cart trying to maybe cross a road that isn't directly across, maybe taking, a chance and crossing, where it's not directly across, where we're saying it's not allowed. And my concern is that someone's going to get hit by a car. And the question really comes down to risk and benefit. Your benefit is great, it's novelty, it's fun. Is the risk worth it? If something happens, that somebody gets hit on a main road like that, there's death involved, likely, in that situation. Not crossing Franklin, who cares? Crossing Franklin is slow, it's not gonna hurt that much. But crossing a fast,
Oh, really?
not as much as 40 miles, 50, 40 miles. Right. But I worry about, one, the person's injury. I worry about, two, I worry about our responsibility. Will they sue us? Because they likely will sue everybody possible, and that whoever's on council at that time, or maybe whoever agrees to it at this time, could be liable. And I worry about the guilt that I would feel if I were to approve this and somebody got hurt and I had to live with that guilt.
So, just real quick though, so you genuinely believe that it is more difficult to cross 13 Mile in a golf cart than by foot?
Absolutely. You know how fast your feet will take you. You do not know if the golf cart's going to sputter and make it or not.
Public comments over.
Hold on just a second, let me finish with the council. Are there any other council comments on this?
Well, I have some comments. So, David, I think you offered to look at the ordinance as written by the planning commission and make some more suggestions. So, and I would accept that. I know from personal experience that these are very popular. There are no safety issues. Your discussion with the chief at Milford confirms that it does not turn out to be a safety issue. I would suggest that we table this for now. You take a look at what you'd like to add to the language, because if this is the first reading, you want to make changes, then this language is incorrect, and we don't have to take a vote right now.
Yep.
So I would propose tabling it for now, until you come back with your proposal.
Can I also?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I'm basically not in favor of this, but I'll explain my perspective. If following the rules that were set up, half of the village will be riding their golf carts on their back streets because they cannot use Franklin Road, or they can't get to Franklin Road to safely reach the downtown. So we may approve an ordinance that isn't gonna benefit a lot of people. Number one, it's just a observation. I would also observe that for several years now, we've been talking about connecting the village. We've asked our planning commission, and they have done a nice job of laying out a map of pathways that connect people and connect neighborhoods to the downtown, but we haven't seemed to get off the dime and get even one of those pathways completed so that people can use them. So I'm not so sure how serious we are about getting people downtown without a car, or unless they ride their bike or they walk. I think we're putting the cart before the horse, putting the golf cart before the rose. I really, guys, I hear the safety concerns. I've got kids too. I see who drives, who sort of borrows the golf carts during Roundup. Kathy's right. These are normal human things to do. We just don't have a main road that is accessible to enough that we can do that good job of regulating that Angelina is asking us to do. Those are my comments.
Mike?
I mean, it's a difficult conundrum, because I get the fun factor, and I support family fun in our community. But I fall back on the words of our chief and now our deputy chief, who I have a lot of respect for. And both our chief and our deputy chief are against this. If I read the room, it feels like most of the people here tonight are against this. Of the petitions that we received, how many of them were in favor and how many of them were against?
I think there are petitions in favor.
Yeah.
There was half for and half against.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I'm troubled by, I mean, we are representative of you, and we tend to try to take the pulse of our community. And if it's a split, like the sidewalks were, I'm very happy that we proceeded to do our sidewalks. It was a big step forward for the village. I'm not quite sure I see this in the same vein, but I'm open. And so I think that the suggestion that was made to table this and revisit after honing in on a few specifics and hearing a little bit more, I think I'd feel more comfortable than giving it a thumbs up or a thumbs down here tonight.
It's your motion.
Well, just to be clear though, I know that we've ran into difficulties with tabling things in the past. Is it more appropriate to not take any action, to take any vote?
Yeah, that's what, I think that would be what you would do.
Right.
Or you could postpone consideration to it,
Yeah, that's,
Right.
meeting certain.
that's the appropriate.
A motion,
David,
postpone
Do you have
consideration.
any comments?
I do
So
have
I-
comments, but
Okay.
yes, but
Do you have comments?
on the ordinance, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I'm still very undecided on this in the sense that I need to still get a little better understanding of things. Any way you can circulate to us these petitions, I would like to put eyes on them, both sides, anyone who's communicated on the issue.
I
You
have
can
those
just-
that are against, I could go online and see if I can't find the ones that are.
I can get them.
Yeah, and if there's definitely a petition, that, because, there's
think we all would like
representations
to
of a
see
lot
that.
of
Yeah,
people.
they're both were on.
There's a
there.
lot of people that are
Comments,
supporting
or are there
it.
just signatures?
They're just signatures.
Okay,
Now, the comments were those that I got today, I got 4 in favor in my email this morning.
Can-
this
Can you put a package together with what's the signatures, what did they sign? What's the statement that they agreed to? Who, and then also include the,
And I will include any letters that I
Individual
received
comments.
for or against.
right.
So, do we have a motion on that?
Yes, we have a motion to approve it in the first reading, right? But-
Before you do that, Dana, we can all access the the hard drive, or the OneDrive, I think you guys use. Why don't you create a folder there and just send people a link to it and they can go peruse? Would that be a
That's
practical
okay, as long as we have
solution?
access to it, yeah, I just like to
Instead
see
of
it.
Xeroxing a bunch of stuff and sending it out, I'd hate to see you do that.
No, I was gonna do it electronic anyway.
Oh, fine,
Yeah.
okay, never mind.
Okay, okay. David, you had comments?
yeah, so, the word danger has been used numerous times throughout the course of this discussion from both perspectives, and I'm really trying to get my hands around when the word danger is used, who is it that is in danger?
Because to me, the danger that we need to be most concerned about is danger to the public, and not necessarily danger to the operator, because the operator who just chooses to drive a golf court and put themselves into any of these dangerous situations has made that decision on their own. And we as a village aren't responsible for putting them in that position. Because I ride an e-bike, e-bike can go faster than a golf cart. Skateboard going down a hill go pretty fast. Bicycles going down a hill go pretty fast. Stuart, I hate to keep calling you out, but the electronic unicycles that are out there move pretty fast. And I'm trying to get my
How
hands
many of those
about-
do we have in the village?
Well, that's one of my next comments. So I'm trying to get my hands around who's in danger. I get the danger of people walking, golf cart coming around the corner, but how is that really different than the car coming around the corner? If the ordinance is followed, and again, we don't write laws to base it upon people who are gonna break the law, because if you break the law, you break the law. And the 16-year-old or the 14-year-old who can, maybe it's easier to jump in the golf cart, but if they're gonna break the law and defy their parents and jump in a golf cart, could just as easily jump in the car and grab the keys. So I'm trying to get my hands around who's really in danger. And, no, because I don't know if there are answers to this. These are questions that I'm still trying to get my hands around. Okay, so again, it would be no different than coming up on a biker or a walker. You slow down if there's oncoming traffic. I mean, I don't pass a walker in our village without going completely on the other side of the road. So if I'm coming down a road, whether I'm in a car or a golf cart, and there's a walker and there's a car coming, I'm waiting. There's rights of way, the theory of this is anybody who's operating a golf cart has already gotten a driver's license, so they're capable of driving a car. So if they can drive a car, I'm hoping they can drive a golf cart. So that's my whole first level is who's the danger that we're protecting. The second is, I would really like to get a better understanding of most direct line of crossing. I happen to live on a street where even using the most creative direct line of crossing, I'd have to leave the village and come back in, so I definitely live in an area where this isn't accessible. I also live in an area that doesn't have sidewalks. However, I supported sidewalks because not everything we have in the village is usable by everybody. And we can't, again, draft an ordinance whether or not everybody can use it. If a majority of our residents can use it and those that have the benefit can, great. There are other of us that don't get the benefit of. This isn't something that I see really significantly increasing tax dollars, that it's gonna create some inefficiencies, or inequities, I should say. And then, the last thing, which kind of went along with what Mike said, is, I don't know if you've ever been online, I have friends that live on golf courses, they have golf carts, they get them rigged up a little bit. A golf cart investment is not the cheapest investment in the world. You're not just running out there and going on eBay and just grabbing a golf cart, and then depending on the level of restrictions that we could put on this thing, that you then have to, the additional bells and whistles. I mean, we're talking about an investment that's getting close to, you could have already just bought your 16-year-old a junker of a car. So I just still want to get my hands around it. I was not in favor of a motion tonight, so if it's being postponed or the motion's being withdrawn, I would certainly favor that. I appreciate everyone's concerns, and that's, the turnout is a big factor. That's why I'd kind of like to get an understanding of the other side. It's been mentioned, I've listened to planning commission meetings about ability of certain people in the village being able to get here for meetings, so I'm really curious if their voices are being heard, and that's all I got.
I just, one comment, that if we pass this ordinance, we increase the potential for a less safe community. And I have a huge problem with that. And I know it's potential, but in the position I hold, I cannot support less safety in town, so. I think we had a few other.
I struggle with that because you also oppose sidewalks.
I did not oppose sidewalks. I
Oh, yes, you
opposed,
did.
hold on a minute. I opposed the materials and the design of sidewalks. I did not oppose sidewalks.
Right.
Okay?
So as long as.
I think we could have done it
aggregate.
in a more, okay. But we had a few more comments questions from the audience. Let's take a couple more comments and then wrap up
We
our
flow
discussion.
with public comments. You ask-
A few people asked for time. Let's give them, let's give them a couple minutes. Go ahead, come on up. You got 2 minutes here. Dana, you,
Another piece of this, I'm holding it in my hand, this is my biggest problem, is that people driving in their cars are on their phones, even though it's a law, it's a law. It's a law, that you can't drive, and they all are. And I've been thrown off that side of the road by cars going by, I don't need someone also on a golf cart going by. And I also believe that this, go back to, yes, not everyone gets to use the sidewalk. It doesn't cross 13 Mile. I don't get to use the sidewalk. I said, great, it's okay to have a sidewalk. But the whole idea is, safety-wise, it takes one person, that's all it takes. Even our parade almost got stopped when a vehicle all of a sudden lost its brakes and people got injured, okay? To invite more things to create more possible harm to anyone here, and everyone can't use it anyways, makes even less sense to me, and this is another piece of the not safe part of the situation. Thank
okay.
you.
A couple more people wanted comments?
For going 2 times around, right? Or is it only 2 times around if you're?
Yeah, I think we decided we were just gonna hear from.
We
each
had a
person
few
involved.
people that asked questions, and I wanted to try and give them
Yeah, I
a
mean, there's
chance.
some other.
So was it only you can hear from twice if they support your position? Because he already did it twice.
We don't have a,
I personally would like to hear thoughts on the issue.
Okay. I'm just saying.
You
is there
have 2
somebody
minutes.
else that
Let's go.
we haven't heard?
No, but you were taking seconds, so I thought we were taking seconds.
Go.
Okay, is that okay? Okay, awesome. So the issue with safety is one that is very close to people's heart. So whenever this council doesn't want to pass something, they ring the safety bell. And it is true that you can look at the agendas from 2019 to 2021, you were opposed to sidewalks. And the argument was, it is not safe to walk up Franklin Road. And we were like, yes, so put sidewalks on there to make it safer. But again, because you can use inflammatory language and say safety, danger, cars, kids, strollers, everyone gets up in arms instead of really focusing on the relevant fact that we're trying to make it safer. This community is already progressing. It's already modernized. There is already a demographic shift. You are already seeing electronic vehicles. You're seeing scooters. You're seeing skateboards. You're going to see electric bikes. And unless we get a hold of it, it's going to be dangerous. So that's what this is doing. It is being proactive and safely regulating modernized vehicles. Thank you.
Okay, let's get a couple more comments. So Joan, you had, go ahead.
It's probably a dumb question. But seriously, I'm just curious, with a golf cart, which is a little bit wider, you know, because you were questioning what's the difference, we have bikes, we have you know, all these things, which I agree, and you have to be careful walking around. If a golf cart is stopped at a stop sign, or it's, I mean, you wouldn't really, I'm really curious, would you go around a golf cart like you would a bike? To me, it seems like that's too risky. So that's what makes it different than a bike, an electric vehicle,
So-
pedestrians.
Yeah.
We need to
That's my
find
concern, and
Written-
I don't totally know, I would think it's like a car, more so.
Written into the ordinance, it actually requires that you drive as far right as possible. So my natural reading of that is that you would drive as right as possible to permit a car to pass on the left.
But I think we need to find that out.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I'm letting you know what the ordinance
That's
actually
what makes it so
reads.
different from everything else.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and I would treat it like a car, and then, and the visibility of them. So
Yeah,
that's
and,
my
and
question.
just for your
So,
point too,
Yeah.
when I attended the planning commission, again, back to the safety thing, I do think that if we do a commitment to this, if we're to pass, that we need to be as thoughtful as possible, and so I would actually, want to direct our village staff to create literature, to basically say, here are the actual rules. It's not like, okay, it's passed, everybody go
Okay.
crazy. It's like,
That's
here
good.
are
I
the
have
specific
I
requirements.
have another question about that too, in which I thought, and here's my assumption. Already right now, it is legal to drive a golf cart in Franklin. Is that what you're saying?
It's not.
Oh,
not.
okay, so it's not like we're just making it more safe by putting, because I do see them all, I do see them. So it's
Yeah.
not really
So
legal
we-
right
we
now.
would be able to, again, what I would expect is some
Okay.
type of a decal that would be your
I see.
registration, to say this person has been educated on how to
I see.
operate
Okay.
within the village.
Thank you.
The point about seeing them already, so what Angelina was saying, just like, you know, you can't stop progress, right? You can go on from HRACs to cassettes to CDs, I mean, you can't stop technology progress, it's happening, it's already happening. What this does, this gives the police, it gives the safety officers regulation about what is allowed, it gives you rules about how to use them, when you can lose them. It's the opposite of what we have now, it makes it better.
All right, so do we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah.
What was the motion?
The motion is to postpone.
No, the motion was to approve this in the first reading.
Did I make the
No,
motion?
no.
Who
All you
made-
did was to open discussion. There's
Yeah.
no motion.
So we don't
right?
have a motion?
What,
Correct.
No, Mike made
Okay,
a motion
so
for the
I would
first reading.
hold on, do you know what the motion is?
Yeah.
Actually, Hanky made a motion to table, and
No.
then there was discussion.
No, but
But
before
no,
that,
when we
before.
started out, we had a motion.
The motion was Salter and Solly for discussion.
Okay, so we don't have a decision motion, it's just a discussion motion.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Joe?
I would move then to postpone consideration. I move.
Second.
Second.
To a date?
Joan's been wanting to make a comment here, let's give her 30 seconds here. Go ahead, Joan.
So,
I don't know if you've been to Milford, they have 2 public golf courses, and they're out near the jam test tracks. They do not allow golf carts downtown, and Milford is kind of spread out.
We,
Golf carts are not allowed downtown. There's a little shopping center, and then it ends, and I have family there, I know.
We need to.
Golf carts
That
are
would be
not
good.
allowed.
Okay.
Let's find
Interesting.
out.
all right,
Okay.
so we.
Okay, we have a
Motion to postpone.
motion
And a
and a
second.
second.
All in
Any
favor?
further
I
discussion?
want a date,
We need a
What?
date.
a date.
Postpone until next,
It's either indefinitely or you put it to a date.
yeah, you wanna put it,
Until.
Well,
put a date on it?
it's Mark's motion.
I postpone until the November meeting. Give you
November?
Time to
Yeah.
work on the language.
Is it, and was there a second for that motion?
Did you I seconded it. Did you second it, or who seconded?
Well, it's now November, if you want to second it.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to postpone the discussion until our November meeting. Is there any further comments? Why not September?
Yeah, why not September? Why are we waiting so long?
To give us time to look at the language and do more research.
We have a month, we can't do it in a month?
And if we do it indefinitely, we have control of the flexibility, I would assume.
If you do it without a date.
Yeah, then let's just do it indefinitely.
Definitely not.
Okay, so,
Second.
so we have a motion to postpone discussion indefinitely. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. See you next time, or whatever
See you,
time.
see
we-
you indefinitely.
See you indefinitely. Thanks for your comments, appreciate
Thank
your
you.
coming tonight. Next issue is to consider the Exonet system application. Do we have a motion?
Motion to consider the extranet systems app.
Okay, so this is a motion to consider. This, somebody want to explain this? Okay,
Yeah.
Stuart, you're
Do we
gonna,
have an application actually in front of us? Right?
There's a
Yeah.
recommendation,
isn't that,
We have not.
Stuart will,
Do we have a time period?
there was an application, it was deferred to the planning commission. The planning commission took hold of it, had a public hearing, did its due diligence, and requested information. I think another application or revised application was submitted, and planning commission considered it and recommended it 3-1, but Mr. Wooters will
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
further details.
So
You're fine summarizing, it's okay.
real quick, and that's-
You're accurate.
Just one point of clarification, does it have to be voted on tonight?
I'd have to look at the time clock, because
That's
if
what
we don't, then
Yeah.
it would be deemed approved.
That's
Yeah,
my question.
right.
But I don't know the revised application, because I think the revision of that application sets the wheels in motion. I think there's 90 days from that, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, I think that the 30 days after, I don't know if it's exactly 30 days, but there's a time clock on it. We were able to have a public hearing for multiple months because we were waiting on the Oakland County Road Commission to get back to us with regards to placement and whether or not they would recommend a placement for this. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that the village can do, even with ordinances that we have with regards to the telecommunications laws that the state of Michigan has been encouraging us to accept, other than we can control, help control some of the locale of the poles, and set some aesthetic aesthetic things. The Planning Commission did, in the last meeting, did approve the 4 that were there, 3-1, with the caveat or concern with regards to the location, if there was a better place that could be placed in the along 13 Mile that would meet the requirements for T-Mobile and Extenet. So that's where we left it. We've moved it forward because it's as far as we can take it as a planning commission. And the next step would be for council to consider consider accepting this or rejecting this this application. But there are requirements of the law that that mitigate our ability to reject. This isn't the first time that a proposal in this nature has come to you. Last time it was rejected, but I think that that was partially due to some of the outstanding information that you're looking for, incomplete packet, incomplete application. Those things have, they have been working and trying to do due diligence to improve that. We have more information this time around, but it's now in council's hands. So that's where we are.
Okay. Council comments on this one? Nobody wants to say anything?
I suspect we have a lot of people here.
I know we do. Yeah.
Why don't we hear from the people?
Let me clarify,
Well-
do you know where the placement is? Because I think that's a point of
No,
confusion.
I'm looking at that right now.
Okay,
I do
sorry.
see that.
Let me point of clarification. So and I think this is part of some of the confusion that has existed, because this isn't the first time the application was submitted multiple times in updating because of the requests that we've been asking for them, because we wanted clarity on the location. So it is in the village right of way on the triangle, Woodside, and 13 Mile. So it's 10 feet off of the 13 Mile south.
The north side.
And what flexibility?
On the north side, thank you, north side.
Stuart, what flexibility do we on council have with regard to the placement?
So that's more of a legal question of flexibility.
Okay.
You can move it 80 feet, I believe, was
Yeah, I believe it says,
the law.
I'm sorry, Bill,
Peter?
Yeah, about 75 feet, you can propose a different location, but the provider, cell provider, or antenna, the small cell provider can reject it if it's not based on reasonable grounds.
Two things. One, because they chose an island, 75 feet would probably put us in another road.
Yeah.
Or in someone's yard.
But barely off of that road, though. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
Stuart,
So
but
they
the pictures and the description from McKenna, this is what we're talking about, in this island.
Yes.
Right.
And they chose it.
Well,
I'm not sure, how did it get moved
This is
from
probably
the
the third
south side to the
application.
north side? Yeah.
It was initially on that,
On
this
Woodside.
proposed, Woodside, and then I think, there were discussions maybe Mr. Lamont had with them to say, can you move it? And they moved it again, and now this is, I think, the third or fourth location.
right. The first location was in an open space in one of our neighbors' yards. And then he talked to them, was able to convince them to move it into next to a wooded area so that he didn't see it out his front door. And then this last time iteration was based upon, I think that was 4 feet off of 13 Mile, which the road commission's like no. And so so this is a much further away from 13 Mile, but still it's also fairly close to Woodside, right?
But visually, how can it be camouflaged, or what?
It looks like a telephone pole. It's like 45 feet tall maximum. We asked them if they could put it on existing poles. Unfortunately, if it is a main power line, trunk line, we're not allowed to share, is my understanding, with those services, and that's why they're insisting on having their own pole. So
What does the pole look like? Is it a wood, is it a?
Yeah, it's just
Show me
regular
where.
phone pole.
We have the drawings right here.
Phone pole.
With the bucket on top,
Oh, it's just a tall.
There's one
thin-
across,
with the upside down bucket on top of it.
yeah, there's one across from the post office on this side. And there's
One right
one,
down the
a
street
couple of them just down the street from you.
Okay.
But where it's near you, Mike, is in the trees. This is gonna be very visual.
Where is it on?
It said scenic, right at the Georgie's house, and the corner of scenic and,
There's two of them, one on either side of
Wellington.
Scenic,
closer to your,
maybe 100 feet from west of Scenic Drive.
yeah, the intersection there.
I'm
So,
sorry, of
Stuart,
what?
Oh,
So-
intersection.
So,
Yes.
this location that you've described, the location in the package, in that triangle, do you feel, does the planning commission feel that this is the best location that can be chosen? Given the consideration, I mean, the last time they brought it forth, they were 4 foot off the road.
Right, so.
This is better than that, yes or no?
It is, in our belief, it is better than what we've seen in the past. It's not, I see it is problematic because you have proximity to the two sides of the triangle. But as far as cellular coverage, down 13 Mile, I was driving by it today and it's fairly open on that side as far as canopy goes. But it's still, I mean, no place along 13 Mile is going to have good line of sight for a cell pole anyway, because we have a wooded village. It's great in that regard. Yes.
Is there currently a dead spot where they're proposing to put this pole?
So that's the that's the catch, right? So the problem Extenet does not do necessarily. They do not necessarily do they're told by T-Mobile and contracted with them whether or not. And so T-Mobile has deemed that there's a need there, and so that's why they contracted it out. So, but I will say that, you know, based on comments from neighbors, and you'll probably hear them tonight, that area not necessarily is as much of a problem, but from what I understand. But I won't speak for you. I'm just giving you a preview. This is the Cliff Notes version. But yes, there's not as much, as far as I understand, there's not as much of a need for T-Mobile there.
My question is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. Let me just finish this thought. So the committee that is no longer Bill and I think Mark and David.
I think Pete was also on there too.
And Pete Halleck did a long study on where we had dead spots, who had service, who did not.
Right.
And it was agnostic to the provider. It was simply
Right.
data.
Well, they called out each provider.
Wait, hold on,
Yeah.
what?
Each one of the priors, so we mapped out every street in the village
Yes.
with independent, each of the 3 carriers.
Yes,
They were separately mapped.
okay. And
That was 2017, is that right?
No, it was
5 years ago.
2022. It was
2022?
Yeah, we mapped out
Okay.
every street of the village.
We hired a consultant, and,
Yeah.
Yep.
So the reason I'm bringing this up, Stuart, is that I wonder if, I mean, it's pretty clear, I think, that T-Mobile did not use our data, and we haven't really matched our data with their assumptions.
Right.
We think and we'll hear from the neighbors whether they think there's a problem to be solved in that particular location.
Correct.
So, and I don't have an opinion at this moment about whether to vote for this or not, but it strikes me that if we're going to use data, that we should use it with integrity and solve our problems. A tower with a radius of what, 1,000 feet?
Around 1,000
Or is it
feet,
a
right.
diameter of 1,000 feet?
Well, a radius, I believe, 1,000
Radius?
feet. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So, diameter
not
too.
small.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for why, I guess, and I'm be listening for why we would want this or we would not want it, given the work that we've already done.
Right, and those are some of the questions that we also asked Extenet in our last
Okay.
planning meeting.
I'm sure you did.
So,
But I think part of the problem is that whether, our survey, and I think we did a good job on that, finding the low spots. We did confirm that the places lacking these towers matched up with our low spots. We did confirm that.
Okay.
We did.
All right,
And
good.
So, I'm comfortable with that thinking.
Okay.
If T-Mobile, they're not like our measurement necessarily, but if T-Mobile on their own measurement, maybe, I'm sure they get still in drop calls, whatever they get.
well, yeah, right, there's several metrics they use, right?
So they're using their data. Really, our capacity to change this application is limited. right? We can't tell them, oh, you do have service, like, that's their choice.
Yeah,
All we can do is, we can try and push the direction of the tower somewhere,
okay.
right? That's really all we can do. And, you know, we already pushed, we rejected them 4, 5, 6 months ago. We said no to them then, because that was, in our minds, unsafe. So if, you know, this is a better, seems to be a better location. It's off the road than it was. Do you propose, is this the best location?
We don't have a better location according, for this application.
So,
I mean, for the area they're trying to improve coverage for, and within the 1,000 feet range, 1,000 foot range of where they're talking about, we did not have a better location for that area. I mean, anything else would move it outside the area they're trying to improve. So,
last time we rejected this, we kind of pushed our definition of why we could reject it. We rejected it anyway. You know, and
which
we
is why it
got-
came back to us.
I know, but, I'm not sure what ability we have to reject it or to push to a better
Yeah.
location.
Okay.
Our failure to act will let this go unrestricted anyway. I mean, if we do nothing, they just go ahead and go to the state of Michigan,
Okay.
right? So there's limited,
Yeah.
there's limited what we can stop
They've
here.
they've been very cooperative in listening to us. They don't even have to do that.
Right.
So that sort of takes me to my point, which is, and out of respect for all these wonderful people that are here to say they oppose this, I just wonder if we don't have much flexibility, and this is the best location, and they can tell us after that we pushed them several times previously, we're done with this.
Right.
This is where we're going to put it, and we don't really have any additional clout. I'm not sure what the point of this discussion is. I mean, again, I know everybody's here, but I believe, if I'm reading the room, they're here to say they don't want it there.
Right.
And I don't know what our solution can be, other than listening to each person opine for 2 minutes about why they don't want it there. And if that's the case, and we can't do anything about it, I would ask for mercy, because we don't have the ability to tell them no.
Stuart, has the Oakland County Road Commission,
They've gotten back to us.
they approved it?
And I'm
Okay,
just
so
being
they're approved
practical.
there. And do we have do you definitively know, or are you able to reasonably look up while we are listening to whether or not this can be pushed off, or if it has to be done
I
today?
just looked it up. We have 90 days from the date of application. Now, there was an application, a revised application, an application you guys denied boldly.
Yeah.
And I think like all you guys mentioned that they've been very cooperative. So I see references, although I haven't seen the revised application or revised plans, I see a June 14th date there. And if you take June 14th and you add 90 days for a new poll, that would take you to like September 10th or.
But we received updated data since June from them, which I think resets the 90-day clock, I believe.
Okay, I use the
Good.
June 14th data, 90 days from there would be September 11th.
Okay. Oh,
But there could be even after after that date that there were revised plans, but I agree with everything you
Conservatively.
said. I appreciate citizens' concerns, but
So the
them
point is,
being vocal towards you guys, they should be focused on the legislature, Michigan legislature, not you guys, because they've removed a lot of municipal discretion in this regard.
so the point is, our next council meeting is the 9th. And unless we've got some additional argument that is gonna sway them again, we're kind of spinning our wheels here.
The only argument that I would make for us pushing it off is the plea that I made the last time was that we are handcuffed in what we can do. And to your point, Peter, reach out to the state representatives, buy them an additional 30 days to make that contact and see if they can make their best efforts, because there's minimal things that we're gonna be able to do.
And propose another location.
Well,
I'm trying.
Last time, we pushed it, and I was very happy to push it last time because, you know, and the fact, hey, you know, it's only so far off the road, this is unsafe, we rejected it, they didn't act get approval from Oakland County. At this point, they do have approval at this location?
Yep, yes. So the other thing, I mean, I know this is future talking, but we are, because of the way that it's currently written in Michigan law, we are working through an update to our ordinance that puts us in line with Michigan law, but there are some flexibilities to things that we are working on to help us still have some control, rather than having the law, our ordinance thrown out completely because it's no longer accurate. we're trying to update, modernize the ordinance so that we can have some more regulation, for example, adding some sort of check and balance when they go to add another carrier to the pole, because right now, everything in your packet is for a 13-watt cell transceiver for T-Mobile. But we all know that you can add, AT&T or Verizon, but there's nothing in our current ordinance that would require them to check with us before adding someone. Because that materially increases the power output of the transceiver.
As I read this ordinance, I mean, I do see there's licensing in here. Can we make the licensing $100,000 a year or something?
No, it's dictated by statute.
Okay. And I'll look for $100K a year. Yeah, make it unprofitable for them.
Good try, Mark.
So the only thing we could do here, aside from listening to everybody, is to push this off to September and see if we can negotiate with them another location.
But
We don't know
we're
what
coming
that
back,
location
this
is.
location is approved and it's safer, and we don't have a better location to give them.
So I would recommend that you listen to, because I've sat through months of these meetings and listened to the public, and I think it's important that you hear what they have to say as well, even though you may not be able to make a decision based upon their input. I think it's important for you to understand where they're coming from and what the perspective they have is, because I personally have learned new things. I mean,
Okay.
I've taken graduate levels in wireless communication, and I understand that perspective. But I also understand that others have different thoughts and ideas, and it's important to understand where
Well,
they're
as long
coming
as
from.
everybody understands what we're dealing with here, which is, we don't know that we have any more flexibility to do anything, other than listen.
Let's open up for public comments.
Let's.
Okay,
I mean, people should have a voice, so.
are we ready?
Let's go.
You guys,
Okay.
before, I have made packets for you.
Thank you.
These include the petition that we circulated. The green is the petition, so if you don't mind sharing, because I don't have enough for everyone. Okay, so what you see before you, we talked to, okay, can we restart the clock?
You just did.
You've used 5 seconds.
Okay, so we've gone out to the citizenry, and we have 262 names on the petition you see before you. We also have a change.org petition that is active. What we did in the petition you see before you is it's quite comprehensive, and we have laid out four points that you can use as legal premise to deny this poll. So the petition says we would respectfully request your denial of this poll. The location that is currently suggested on Woodside and 13 Mile is a difficult spot to be in. A few of us went to the road commission. We actually had their agreement in the difficulty that it poses in this particular intersection. You will find a tab in there that shows the picture of the pole, what it looks like. You'll also find on your second page the Michigan legislation. You'll also find all the signatures that we're attaching. And you'll also find a page on there that shows in every single newsletter that comes out from the village, there's a note about safety on there that shows that 911 calls will never be denied from a cell phone, and that takes care of it. There was some concern about safety. So what we would ask you to do, respectfully, is deny this poll based on its materially dangerous safety hazard to motorists and its potential visual conflict with the directional signage on that little peninsula. I went to the road commission myself, and we've also examined the possibility. We have a pole going up on Inkster and 13 Mile that may communicate with the node on Roberts and 13 Mile. We would like to, if you could please deny the poll, if you're not comfortable with that, press pause. Let's do a look and see if the network connection can be made from Inkster to Roberts, both high altitude locations. And if not, we would like to be a part of the decision-making in moving the pole. The road commission has given us their blessing to move the pole. So we have several options for you to examine tonight, which would include denial, press pause, and or move the poll. So we have all of these people here have supported this petition. We've gone out, this is 3.5 weeks. We can go a lot further with it. We were asked by council and planning, please show us your village opposition to the poll. The overwhelming opposition, part of which is standing before you and you'll hear from, we would just ask you to seriously look at this. I'm providing legislation, your ability to deny. I'm asking you also to look at things real time from Inkster to Roberts, because it's very possible, given the altitude and the type of node, that it would communicate and make the pole at 13 and Woodside redundant. There is one last option, and that is to use a directional pole down 13 Mile instead of a radial pole. If their objective is to get service down 13, it would stay down 13, and you would not be radially supplying every neighbor with EMFs and RFs. Nobody wants that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, are you saying that there will be another pole at Roberts? 13 and Roberts is?
Got a map for you here.
Real quick, has you all, one, thank you for organizing all this. Second of all, has this
Nobody's
been
gonna like that.
shared with
If it's directional, it
Extonet,
only works.
or has there been contact with like a state representative?
It's a
We have not contacted the state representative, but we have talked with Exonet, we've talked with the road commission.
Has Extonet been open to these ideas?
They have not gotten back to us. Paula can speak to that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Go
Paula
ahead.
Slough, Woodside Drive.
2 minutes.
So I made this up, and you can see all the poles. The ones that are in dark blue are poles that are already up. There's 9 of them, and there's 1 pole at the corner of 13 Mile and Inkster. So that's actually Farmington Hills, but that makes 10 small cells that are already up. And I think we actually, via a FOIA request, asked for more information about this, or waiting for that. But we think there's 3 more. There's 4 more poles on Inkster that are up, but there's no cells on it yet. So the thing is, when we're looking at this, I did measurements for everything, and we know how many, meters everything is. So when we look at, the Roberts to Franklin, you asked about the Roberts, so I didn't know that was there. So Roberts to Franklin is only 943 meters. And the pole that they want to put up on Woodside is only 449 meters from Inkster. So the distance is so much shorter, it's not even halfway in between. So I realized that when they're measuring this, it's not just about distance, but it's about the trees, it's about the altitude. I measured the altitude, and the altitude, if we were at the yellow dot, is 240 meters, and the altitude for Woodside is 246 meters. So we're looking at very, very similar. When we went to the road commission, we spoke with Scott. He said, I have no problem approving a different location, as long as it is a location that is within their parameters, and the parameters, of course, for Extonet. They have not gotten back to us. We have suggested moving the pole, but I haven't heard from him. And so because we know that they are willing to move it, I don't know about Extonet, I can't imagine if we're looking at these distances, because this is factual data. We're not talking about, oh, we don't like it or this and that. Yes, we don't want it on our street, but at least we know when we're looking at this, there is measurements that we can go off of and say, hey, now most poles in our area, of those 9 poles, are about 850 meters from each other. There are some that are in closer proximity because you have dual ones that are like at the corner of 14 Mile and Franklin Road. Those are very close together in proximity, as well as the one that is by the library. But the other ones are about 850 meters. So we can assume that we've got more leeway than 50 feet or 65 feet.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you for, so I appreciate the work that you're doing on this. I appreciate putting numbers and facts versus just emotions. So that goes a long way, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, Rich Parada, 31265 Woodside. Mike, you raised a good point, and I just want to reemphasize. What can this council do to deny the pole within the premise of the Michigan Act of 2018? And there are actually 4 things that you do have leeway to do. In the December meeting, you chose one of them, which was saying, look, this is a materially dangerous safety hazard to motorists and pedestrians, when it was only 4 feet off the roadway. In this particular new location, which is now 10 feet off the roadway, that's a little better, but we believe it is still materially dangerous because in that particular triangle there, there's a number of signs. You come up over a hill. It's not a great location. So the council can potentially deny it for that. And then lastly, we believe that because the tower conflicts with the nature, aesthetics, and safety of the location choice, the village council can also reject. Now, the group that's here and the folks that have come out tonight, we're kind of, we've had a lot of discussion. Mark, to your point, we're getting sharper as we figure this out. But if you do reject and the state or someone else comes back and sues the council, know that this group is willing to back you up for the reasons that you choose. So, again, I'd like to respectfully request that you deny the application.
And will you cover our annual salary too?
The $25.
I was going to say collectively,
Paid 25.
I was going to say collectively for the council, yes, we can do that.
Thank you, that's all
I am not
wanted.
soliciting funds, Michael, this is a bad idea, do not solicit funds.
So who made the decision to put it in the triangle? Nobody's
We
explained.
rejected it, and they found a better spot.
Who found it?
So let's-
Did we have input to
let's
that?
reject this. What do we, what?
I just have a
Wait,
question.
wait.
Because of the poles that they have in place already and saying that they could add on to the pole that they plan on putting there, it seems like a good suggestion is to piggyback on one of the poles that already exist. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
That was a good point. That came up in our planning
Oh, it
meeting.
did?
Yes.
Okay.
And so unfortunately, along 13 Mile, within the range that they're trying to improve, there are no poles that we can utilize. But that, because there's stipulations with regards to what can be on the pole, with whatever's on that pole first, if it's an exclusionary item, then we can't add cellular to
Do
that.
they all
pole.
have exclusionary?
The ones that are within the range do. Yes.
Look, it's clear to me that this group has done a lot of research on this and have made outbound calls and have not gotten return phone calls. So I think on the basis of that, I would feel comfortable rejecting this right now. And knowing that we will have to revisit this, but that every effort is being made to try to accommodate, but we're listening to the voices of the people who have done some research and have very specific ideas to help mitigate this issue.
So, heard, a couple of things. One, I think that collectively, everyone in this room can make an effort on different angle. I'm trying to buy that extra 30 days for the next council meeting.
Right.
And I think we can, one, that will allow us to consult our attorney and maintain attorney-client privilege on what the potential liabilities to the village would be if we were to do a denial.
Right.
So I would avoid making that decision tonight, while also giving an additional 30 days for this group to reach out to, state representatives to try and get, let's be honest, state representatives carry a lot more weight with Extenet and carriers than we do. And then the final thing is potentially inviting Extenet to sit in the room and listen to these ideas if they're not gonna respond to them.
So, I appreciate your thoughts, David. Actually, are you done?
Yeah.
So, my thoughts, I wanna play hardball, honestly, is what I would do. So, the state representative not gonna be able to get much done in the end of summer. I just can't see anything happening legislatively to change that, honestly. Extenet, lots of companies just not gonna pick up the phone. They don't care to pick up the phone call. Doesn't it serve their advantage to talk back, So, if, what we had done, I remember saying this like, 6, 7 months ago, if we can show there's material risk there, put the burden on them to prove otherwise, right? So if whatever reason we think there's a material safety risk, that's all I need to know, and that's literally what we had said way back when. At that time, it wasn't approved, so that I think we have less ground now, but I don't mind making that statement that it's still materially risky, and put the burden on them to prove otherwise.
So
They can ignore us, they can go by us, but
I
that
understand
doesn't
that.
bother me.
I just, again, as a corporate attorney, what I always feel is I need to make sure that my clients are going into a decision eyes wide open, and I think that we should afford our attorney the opportunity to do that for us, so that we know what the potential liabilities on taxpayers are prior to our decision. I don't mind playing hardball, I just wanna know what are our various avenues to mitigate liabilities.
So I would make a motion to push this off to next month and utilize the next 30 days to get some of those kinds of answers from the people that are working on this and from our attorney.
I will prepare an attorney-client privilege documentation considering the risks, and we can go into closed section next week or next month and discuss that.
Okay.
So we have a motion to postpone. Do we have
I
a second?
put a motion to postpone.
Right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
All in favor?
any discussion about that motion?
Postpone the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have some people that still wish to speak. So before we do a roll call or before we vote, I would like to hear from anybody who wants to speak to this, that
Okay.
came to the meeting
That's fine.
tonight. Yeah.
But knowing where we're going with this.
So whatever happens with this location and the safety and all that, would it then just come again to be put in another location in Franklin?
Yeah, so,
So is this gonna bounce around all of Franklin? Is that what?
no, so they want to be along that section of 13 Mile for their reasons. We can't challenge their reasons why, right? We may think that. So we pushed them last time to find a better spot. This is the best spot that they feel, right, for whatever reason they feel that way. They got Oakland County Road Commission to approve it for whatever reason. So they're gonna try and, they're either going to reject our rejection and go ahead anyway, or they're gonna try and, find a better spot, so.
But we could be so annoying that they just give up on us?
Well, I'm not,
I don't think so.
That's kind of my thinking, is that we just, that's kind of my thinking is.
I can
is that we-
clarify this as far as how this location was chosen. I had a
I
discussion
think-
with the road
I
commission
think
about
is-
that.
My experience with Extonet is they've been very cooperative, very willing to talk to us. They could reach a point where they say, to hell with you, we're doing what we want to do, and they have the legal right to do that.
The
So,
road
while
commission.
we may have a better plan, and I'm supportive of that, let's lay it out and let's ask them. But again, I would like to keep this cooperative relationship going with them.
So
Can I just clear up the road commission, how they came about with this I can clear that up very easily.
I just want to, the best thing that I heard today from you guys about this directionally sensitive option, has that been done in other places where they can angle it directly to just straight down 13 and not radiate around?
You see the rectangular things that are all over the place on cell towers? They're like rectangles, they're
Yeah.
hanging out there. Those are directional antennas. The things you see that are domes, those are radial antennas. So if they use a directional antenna, it would just shoot it straight down 14 miles.
But does a distributed antenna system have the same capability that a 100-foot tower does?
It's a
I'm not
matter
sure it
of
does.
connecting the network, which isn't a long distance. It's a
There's
1,000-foot
I
radius.
have a lot of questions about
But
that. We'll get
can I
into
clear up the road commission selection of this particular little island? Because we actually had a chat about that. Basically, one of the guys in the permit department sent somebody out and said, hey, will you look around? And he's like, oh, this looks like a good spot. Boom. There was no discussion with Exton. It was a road commission like, all right, yeah, this looks pretty good. That was it. There wasn't, it wasn't like, let's deliberate, let's test it, let's figure out, based on the network connection, all that. Because if you look at the poles, where the one on Inkster in 13 is, and then you look at the one down 13 on Roberts, it's like a 25% jump, in distance, versus if they're really trying to connect the network, they would be somewhere in the 50% of the range, right? So it doesn't even make sense where it is. It's almost redundant. So we're hoping that maybe they could do a real-time test once the one on Inkster and 13 is operational. It may very well talk to the one on Roberts, because they're both in a higher altitude. You heard Paula talk about altitude and distance. So the distance, this was like a convenient selection. And we talked to the road commission, Scott, the permit person, about that, and he told us that. And the other thing is, we showed him the visual challenge that this presents. If you're going out Woodside south toward 13 Mile and you want to go west on 13 Mile, you have to look across this island from a very tight, maybe 30-degree angle, and that pole would be right in the way. Thanks, Michael. And so, yeah, so basically what he agreed with us, like, yeah, this really isn't a good location. And so we asked him if we could say, hey, Scott, do you mind if we share that with you? So we are. So we've really done a lot of homework on
So
this.
that, I think, is the primary focus of our next step, is that this potentially is a dangerous location. I hate to use the word dangerous again, but it's a valid,
And confirmed
I
by
get
the
that.
road commission.
But here's the other side of this, And this group will be happy if they decide, okay, you're right, we're not gonna do this at that triangle. They're gonna find another place to put it. And we're gonna be back here again with another group of fine citizens who are irritated that it's being located in their area. So,
Unless we can do a test with the one on
Well, but
Inkster and 13. Or
regardless.
we have different options. We're not locked in.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying ultimately, it's going to rest with them. Eventually, they're gonna get frustrated. They've been easy to work with up till now, and they may continue to be. But ultimately, I think we're still running the risk that at some point, they're gonna pick another location.
I don't
And we'll have
mind-
another room full of people.
But we did,
But, you know,
I'm not saying we're giving up. I like where
but we
we're at.
found a couple spots where there's actually nobody in the front, nobody in the back. The distance the meters between that
Great.
pole
So let's
would
make
not
those
be near.
suggestions.
I would love to.
Hang on, real quick to that, could you submit that to Dana?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Those,
submit
those
all of them.
proposed locations?
Yeah.
The other thing I did wanna add is, again, going back to, you know, we have our path forward on what we're looking to on this side. I, again, wanna urge you all to reach out to your state representatives. The reason for that is, again, strategically, the way that I would approach the conversation if I was a state representative would say, leave the community alone, or my alternative is to create an amendment of how I regulate you. So what do you want? That is the difference between the power of working with them compared to us. They know that we are in a position of basically doing what we're doing today, whereas the state legislature, they can say, play ball with what we're requesting, or otherwise you're going to end up being more regulated. And so you're going to get a more material impact for your long-term objective by working with them.
Okay, could we still request, based on the legislation we gave you and the points that you legitimately have legal premise to deny this poll, we're still going to ask you for a denial of this particular application. To be honest, I'm not even sure it's complete, and there's a lot of out-of-date data in it, the application I saw. And then then it's done. We don't have to mess around with this one. They will come back, and that will give us time, while they're reconfiguring or whatever they're doing, then we need some time to work with a state rep. You know, legislation moves very slowly. And so we would just ask that you would honor this 260 people and counting petition. You've got everyone here. Not everyone has had a chance to speak. But I happen to have, I've been at this for almost 2 years. I have a tremendous amount of data. We're trying to provide you with the tools to really follow the requests of the people you are elected to serve. So
Are
we're
we
asking.
better off denying this, or are we better off postponing it? Peter?
I think based on the revised application, you get another 30 days. You know, so you get 90 days in total, so you guys can deliberate all this stuff, but
We
the
can-
statute works in disfavor of municipalities and any type of discretion they have. It really forces it down, it says you have to approve it, and if you don't, well, the only reason not to is 3 or 4 of these items that are listed in the statute, I can read them off, but 1 or 2 don't even, aren't relevant, but does it interfere with sightlines or clear zones for transportation or pedestrians? Another one is materially interfere with safe operation of traffic control equipment.
So would you recommend that we deny it, or would you recommend?
I was recommending the 30 days, because again, we want to maintain, we want to maintain attorney-client privilege, so we want to make sure that these communications are giving Peter an opportunity to research this and then advise us under the veil of attorney-client privilege.
So we don't have to make a decision today. We may have as long as next meeting or longer to string this out as long as we can. And then if we choose that it's still dangerous, we can reject it at the last possible moment and just
Well, the next meeting
wear
would
them
be the
down.
last possible.
Well,
otherwise
maybe,
the 90
maybe,
days.
but if there's any amendments to it, maybe that pushes it out further. But we have
Yeah.
at least until next meeting.
Right.
So we don't have to make this, in fact, there's no advantage, just like you don't show your cards early, there's no advantage for rejecting it now.
Let's
So
let the
we
people talk.
So we have a, well,
So we have a
okay.
motion.
We have people.
We still want to
Hold
talk.
on, let's listen to some.
I still have.
Hi, my name is Caroline Shonick, and I just wanted to let you know that I was one of the people that went around house to house and all throughout the village. And the majority of the people are totally against having the poles put up. So I would strongly recommend the denial, otherwise we're gonna continuously repeat this, because it's not just one section of Franklin, like Woodside Drive. if you move the pole to another area, those people also, like, a lot of them have expressed their interest that they're not interested in the pole. So to save time, I would recommend denial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask David, can you make sure that whoever the proper legislation people that we should contact, and maybe some verbiage that would be more effective can be sent out, because we do get things sent out to all the members, and I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Sassoon-Berger. I live on Woodside Drive, a few houses down from where you want to put the cell tower. I have 3 children under the age of 4 and a new baby. I was pregnant for the last year. I'm so appreciative that the cell tower didn't go up. There's not enough evidence that says that this will not heat my children's tissues, affect their brains. You have a man who is a wonderful neighbor who's left this town. He was a very renowned pediatric neurologist who just wasn't comfortable with the prospect. People don't want to live here now. That's not, who's going to sell their house to a young family with not enough information? That's all I want to say. So I'd like my children's names on the record: Lev, Ben, Guy, and Nora.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark Azzopardi, lived in Franklin for 24 years, and I just wanted to piggyback on what she just said. I'm in the medical field, and there are many situations where the long-term and sometimes short-term impacts of new therapies, drugs, radiation treatments aren't felt for many years. I'm dealing with one right now. Documented evidence of something that was available in 2017, and I went and got my own CAT scan at a radiologist's office in January. And I asked them, you still give gadolinium when you do MRIs? And they said, yes. But what do you tell them? Oh, it just washes out of the system. It doesn't. I'm telling you that. It doesn't. My only question is, maybe for the Planning Commission gentlemen, what is the official stance of government and these companies on the safety of them?
So the FCC sets the requirements, from what I understand, with regards to how much power is used, but that's the governing body over wireless and radio communication and human body interaction.
My comment to you would be,
Kat will also share with you, those studies were done over a spectrum a long time ago, and they haven't been updated in a long time. And so there's a lot of things that are in the works to try and improve.
You know, like 1999, when there was no 5G.
right, exactly. They have no idea. My only closing thing would be this. They also said the COVID vaccine was going to be safe. They all kinds of promises, all kinds of problems. That's what I think we could be looking at 5G. There are known increased rates of brain tumors. 5G penetrates much deeper. They see more tumors on the side, the dominant side. My advice to everybody, do not listen to a phone holding it up to your ear. You should use the speaker for sure. And when you carry it, put it in your back pocket so your butt fat absorbs some.
What about Bluetooth?
Bluetooth? You know, I can't comment intelligently about that. But I'm telling you, you have to be cautious. And if you don't know, you don't proceed until you do know.
Thank you, Doctor. All right.
Bethany Reyes, 24477 Riverwood. I hear what you're saying, like that they're just going to keep moving it around, but it's still really heavy on my heart that if it was being built on my street, I would hope people would show up for me, and I would hope people would fight for me. So yeah, being here may mean it comes closer to me, and I'm very aware of that, but it doesn't mean we don't do the right thing every time, right? So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I have a little data on safety if you'd like to hear it from the FCC.
Yeah, please, thank you, please.
Hello, my name's Randy Sloff. I live on Woodside, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of my neighbors. Bonnie and Tony, their houses are at the end of Woodside, closest to 13. Are we asking them to look out their window and see a nasty radiating pole? All the traffic coming in and out of Woodside that go both sides of that island, do they have to see that pole every time they enter and exit? Let's go east on 13. We're not against the pole or technology. Why put it right in the middle of entering our subdivision? That's ridiculous. I have a new neighbor here that spent millions of dollars on his home, and we went to the Planning Commission meeting. The realtor said it affects your house value 20 to 30%. A lot of newer people that are looking at homes at Bethany State are concerned about 5G technology. we're not against it. My wife went and met with Scott at the Road Commission. He is happy to move the pole. At the Planning Commission meeting, my wife spoke with Extonet. He said, give me 2 or 3 bullet points on a Google map, which she did. We're happy, we'll help assist. I just don't want to see that pole every time I drive in and out of my street or my neighbors drive in or out of the street. I took an oath here 11 years ago. I've been a member of the police department and I've clocked hundreds of hours. I've got paid 0 and I'm happy to do it. I like to protect the weak. But in this instance, I need some reciprocation. I need some support from you guys. We help put you there. Support us. We don't want to drive in and out of our street, multi-million-dollar homes, to see a pole. Move it east, move it in forest, move it in a wooded area where there aren't houses looking out their windows seeing it. Come on, that's realistic. Give us some support. We're here because we don't want to see a pole every time we drive in and out of our street. Tony, Bonnie, they don't want to see it looking out their window. Please, help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think,
Good evening. I'm John Borenstein, B-O-R-E-N-S-T-E-I-N. My wife and I just moved into the neighborhood 2 months ago. We're about 600 or 700 feet north of the proposed location. We're at 31145. Our house is on lot 42 of this supervisor's plat of Franklin. You know, this is in a platted subdivision. I couldn't find any any dedication instruments other than the plat itself. It looks like there's 2 parks and I think 3 island entrances. You can barely make them out. But in terms of this entrance on Woodside, you know, you can argue that these islands are not being used for street purposes. They're not, you know, roadways, they're not paved, they're in a natural vegetative state. So, you know, under the platting dedication laws, you know, dedications for non-street and non-roadway areas are for the use and benefit of the lot owners, like people like me. So, you know, we've heard that there's adverse health and economic impacts. Does the village have unlimited right to grant interests to, you know, in the island to third parties that's detrimental to my health and rights? And I think the answer is no, there's limits, because there's perfectly viable workarounds as well. There's Wi-Fi calling, which works. There's VPNs. You can get a landline, which we have. I'm sorry, I was trying to keep my time down. There's little precedent for placing these poles in these subdivisions. I think if it's a cost factor, I think you have to look at the potential detriment and the property values and everything else compared to the cost benefit to Extranet for putting it here versus somewhere else. So I would ask the council to please consider what's presented before you, and please put the energy into finding alternatives. We use the 13-mile entrance for, you know, 90% of our ingress and egress. And it's an attractive island. It's got low-key signage, directional arrows, and we would hope that they could find another option and not put it in this island. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it for comments?
okay,
So we have a motion to postpone till next month and a second. All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you all. We appreciate it. We're, thank you.
That would be Bill.
That's a good, well, I guess we gotta develop a proposal to go back to Extonet, and we need some input from you. What's the proposal? So I guess get your information to Roger, and let's see if we can put something together. Give your information to Roger so we can put together a proposal to get back to Extonet.
And
What
let
are
us know
the,
if
what
you
are
hear
the
back
alternative
from
sites?
them.
So here's the thing, though.
No, no, no.
We've given you the opportunity to deny this. Why would you approve it or even postpone it?
It doesn't benefit, realistically, in my opinion, it does not benefit you all to get a denial today, because at best, what you're just doing is accelerating their next proposal by an additional 30 days. What we're trying to do is get 30 days for you all to make contact with state representatives and for us to get a legal opinion to understand what our liabilities are to the village.
Well, if we deny it, we then open it up for another 90-day application.
But we can deny it next
No,
month and then we
no,
get
then
90
I
days
see.
after
immediately
Okay,
that.
got
round and
it.
goes.
Thank you.
Right.
We're only at day
Cool.
60 of the night.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let's,
Can I ask one
Thank you.
question?
Thank
Bill,
you.
can I ask one question?
sure.
Being that nobody asked me if I wanted to speak on the subject. We have our planning commissioner here, so, I looked through this list here. There's people here that don't live on Woodside Drive. There's people that live on the other side of Franklin.
That's right.
Okay, so I chaired the planning commission for a self-committee that was designed to try to enhance cell service in the village of Franklin. I then sat on this council and participated in a cell committee that was seeking to enhance cell service in the village of Franklin. We categorically denied the presence of a tall cell tower in downtown Franklin because of its aesthetic, even though it would not be near anybody's house. Now we have residents all across the village saying, yeah, we want better cell service. The only way to do it is with DAS nodes, but don't put a DAS node in front of my house. So then, can I finish speaking? So then the question is to the planning commission, who's rewriting our master deed, is our master deed goal to help cell service in the village of Franklin, or is our goal to fight the cell service companies to restrict cell service enhancement in the village whenever possible in lieu of health risk? And if that's the case, then let's rewrite the master plan and not live in two different worlds with a master plan that's seeking an objective that apparently nobody in the village, at least that comes to these meetings or sign for petitions, wants. Because I guarantee you, if you take this list and then you go to where all these nodes are, and you go to where my house is, I have 3 nodes that are within these 400 feet that everybody's having heart attacks about. You have one within 400 feet of your house
We
as
have
well,
two.
and they already
Yeah.
exist, so they already exist in the village.
That's why I
So
have
where are we
many
going? What is our new objective? Is our new objective we don't want to fix cell service? Because if it is, let's make that perfectly clear. Because we spent 2 years asking these cell companies to do something to help us, and they came and brought us 3 new nodes, and we told them to get lost. So help me understand this, because that is talking out of both sides of your mouth, and I don't do that. That's my point. And nobody got to hear that because nobody asked if I wanted to speak on the subject, but it's on the record, and we're gonna be back next month, and that's what I need to understand. What is our new objective in the village of Franklin? And if it is to do this, that's fine. My service isn't horrible, I'll live with what I got. But then let's turn the objective around, because we look stupid sitting up here trying to do one thing and ask companies to do something for our benefit, and they do that, and then we turn around and say, you're stupid? That's my point.
So my only question to that
Can we
is,
shut the door?
Yeah, thank you.
you can't close it?
It's,
Yeah,
well,
but
Okay.
just leave it
it's,
Yeah,
it's
ajar.
more, yeah, just leave it ajar.
Leave it ajar.
Just a little, just a
Open
little.
and let them go
jar.
outside.
Chase them out.
Be a jar
Yes,
meeting
but
X.
Susan will go tell them.
All right, so my question is, and this is again, just fully understanding, because I agree with everything that you said, isn't part of the problem though, that when we did the analysis, was this area deemed one of the big problem areas? Because I know that where we were having a resident who kind of initially raised the issue around cell service is very far from this location. And so I think part of it is the autonomy of the fact that you're choosing where to put it when we're trying to say we're working with our residents who are actually having the issue.
So there were, on our map, when we did paid the consultant 6K to do the mapping.
Yeah.
There's real correlation, lacking these small nodes, matched up with the lack of signal. It really did, it was pretty
Yeah.
obvious,
Yeah.
laid its mapped on top of
Right.
it. There are many locations deeper in the village than this spot with problems.
Right.
Honestly, a lot of the historical district was really a bad spot. So if we wanted to, where can we add nodes that most benefit users? It wasn't this spot on 13 Mile.
Right.
It really wasn't. It was honestly down here.
Yeah.
This is where the.
Mark, you
services were.
sat there. Bill took hours. He took a little 100-foot radius thing, and he literally dropped it in front of every single house in the village of Franklin. And there aren't but 1 or 2 spots in the whole village. You can go 150, 200 feet and not hit a house.
Right.
There's no city anywhere in America around here unless we're out in rural areas, you're gonna go 200 feet and not literally hitting a home. So, again, it goes back to maybe we need to just not try and fix cell service in Franklin and let everybody live with it is and tell people to figure out what it is and come up with a better means and
Because the
do
truth
all
is-
these other things, because that's what we need to tell them, because we can't tell them we're fighting for them when we're clearly not.
And the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, we don't have a whole lot of control over it anyways, right? So, so why, you're right, why keep saying we're fighting for it?
And
we
if
don't
the
need
answer
be
to it is
fighting
we
for
get
it?
sued and then we'll let some court do it, and my question will be, I hope our errors and omissions insurance covers us when we know we're patently denying something contrary to
Well, we
state
didn't
law.
deny it. We didn't deny it.
Well,
Right.
we denied
Yeah.
the first time because it was safety, it's 4 feet off the road.
Gotcha.
It's 4 feet off the road.
But if in fact this group has a better idea, let's listen.
Absolutely.
And we have Exnet's ear still, I think, let's propose it. If they say no, there's nothing we can do. But
The directional idea of just shooting it down to connect one node to a next, because that's what they keep saying, this node is part of a system, it's part of a system, we need this node.
Right.
Well, if we can just directionally set it, then everyone's gonna be fine with that then.
And
But it's
But who does that
never-
serve?
It's never that simple.
Who does that serve? It serves drivers. That's all it serves.
That's all it serves anyways, right
Right.
now, because nobody needs the service in that area, like where Rick David lives, he'll be serviced by the node that's being put right now at Inkster and 13, he'll be serviced by that, so
So-
that group, that section will get taken care of.
We don't have, I mean, if we can ask these providers to put a note, as we look on our map, the weak areas, they're not interested in putting the nodes there. They want to put a node, a search bound, which has minimal effect to our residents.
Right.
Right.
Because
So,
maybe
so,
our
so
residents.
this is gonna come back to us next month, and David, you can repeat exactly what you just said, which is extremely valid point. And all it does is buy us another month.
Right.
And we'll deal with it, at that point, but you make
Or
a
we take
valid
the
point.
position and be prepared
Right.
to hunker down and be the local community who decided to take on the wireless communicators
Yeah.
at our dime.
There's a trade-off between service and health, I guess, so, okay. Oh, well, let's
I appreciate
get the
it.
stuff together and see if we can come up with,
Stuart,
some
did you
sort.
have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just gonna make the point that Kathy made, which was that it really only serves the people that are traveling along 13 Mile. It really doesn't help the village.
Right.
One of the hesitations that the cellular companies probably have with coming to our village and increasing our coverage is because we have homes every 100, 200, 300 feet. And the power density we would need is actually for DASs to improve those coverage, would require it, like, if we had streetlights, it would be like on every single streetlight to improve it. And so, people make do with their Wi-Fi calling. The challenge, though, is for 911 calls, they don't know where you are when you call through Wi-Fi. That's the challenge you run into. But yeah, there's not much of an incentive for them to improve inside the village, but along the artery roads, there is, because it helps our neighbors, not us necessarily.
That's right, and I'm still interested in going back to using the data that we paid for, that you guys killed yourselves collecting, and asking as far as we can, providers to focus on our areas. If they can't, they won't, okay,
Right.
but the conversation tonight was, we've heard all of that.
Yep.
We
And-
haven't heard it all, there was a little bit of new stuff.
Well, a
that
couple
was
of new
good.
points, yeah, but, well,
Okay.
all right.
okay, let's move on here.
Are we moving out?
We're
Are we
back
doing our
to,
thing?
President's
The
report.
President's report, I
wanna
don't
do that
have
first?
anything specific to say. Council, any council reports?
No.
Only council report I have is the FCA has completed our Welcome to Franklin book, and it is 44 pages long, and it will be available free to every resident of Franklin, but you have to come and get it. Every new resident, we'll be handing it out in their new resident packets, but for current residents, we will have it at the block party, and it will be located in the library and at the village offices in
Are
the
people
future.
gonna have to sign for their copy?
We would like, it is
No, I'm
it is
serious,
free,
because
and it is
otherwise,
one per family, it is
The
not
block
for.
party, 1,000 people are gonna take them.
No, we are at the block party, at least gonna have it be signed, because so many people come from out of the village.
members?
What? All village people, everyone who lives in the village, everyone who has an address, one per family, gets this for free.
Thank you.
But if you wanna make a donation,
Why,
that would
why,
be
We
so
will show you, we
appreciated.
love it.
Kathy, why not use it to, you know, it's free to paid FCA members.
Because we want
FCA
everyone to have it,
business
because it's so important
out of our-
that everybody should have it.
Appreciate the awareness, but let's keep FCA business with the FCA.
I have a question, as part of, I don't have a report, but a question. We are about to transition from one chief to another. We're gonna have to make, some kind of a resolution. We have to hire the chief.
Yeah.
And, what is the plan to do that?
The specific language of our code says that the chief is appointed by the village president with a concurrence of the council.
Okay,
And Dan is leaving on the 23rd. that
of
thing-
August.
Yes, that's a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan had been to have a resolution on the agenda for the meeting in September,
Okay.
appointing Carl Kirk.
Yeah.
So we'll just be chiefless for
Well,
a
you'd have
few- couple of
interim
weeks.
items.
We have an,
Right.
well,
We have the
yeah,
deputy chief.
we have the deputy, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just just asking for clarification.
That's correct.
That we got all that
Need to
covered,
do
okay.
that.
All
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
thank
Any
you.
other council?
The only other thing that I just wanted to remind the world who's watching, there's so many of them, I'm sure, but that the roundup is coming and it'll be on Labor Day. There's also a Franklin School reunion that will be the Sunday before Labor Day. If you remember Franklin School, if you were here during the time of Franklin School, if you had children or friends or, you remember, come join us. We have an RSVP that we do request, so we know how much food and drink to have. And additionally, if anyone wants to volunteer for Roundup, we need you, we want you, and you can go to FCA, not even sure the website now, I just forgot it off the top of my head, but go to our website and find us, and there's a link there for Sign Up Genius to volunteer. Thank you. FCAMichigan.org. Thank you, Dana.
So for my report, it's kind of a combination. I was gone last meeting, so it's a bit of a combination of a report and followed by a motion, or the other way around. But I was a little disappointed at the lack of opportunity that Raja, as a business owner and a participant within, a strong participant and leader of Main Street, received, to not even be provided to make a case. And as a result of that, I would like to make a motion to refund Raja her $1,000 application fee, as none of it is passed on. It's solely contained within the village as a fee. It's not passed on to the state. It would be a lost revenue in the sense of we wouldn't have the $1,000. But still, typically that fee is to help pay for the election or putting it on the ballot. But she won't be on the ballot, so that's why I'm making the motion.
I would second it.
I can see that.
Any discussion?
I support.
I support.
I was unaware that she had paid a non-refundable fee.
Right.
So first news I've heard that she's paid a non-refundable fee of $1,000, is that correct?
That's correct, but I'll ask for
Is that correct,
confirmation from the
Roger?
village.
It's, ordinance says that it's non-refundable.
But that,
But we're overriding it.
correct, within our authority.
I didn't know that it was either, but.
Are we able
But
to,
I
are we legally able to override an ordinance just because we vote on it?
I'm pretty sure that non-refundable means that there's no expectation of reimbursement, not that we wouldn't be able to reimburse it.
It is unfortunate that Raja took it the way she took it, and I have to say I'm disappointed in that. I have reached out to her personally to indicate the support of council, that we had gone to great lengths to ensure that there would be a second opportunity for her, and it appears that she has rejected that, and I'm very disappointed. I know how great she was and the many fine things that she did for the community, and we wanted to continue to have a good relationship with her, but She's decided of her own volition that she doesn't want to have a relationship with us, and that's disappointing. And I'm just, I'm sorry, because we have, as a council, dedicated ourselves to doing as best we can to help our small downtown retail businesses. Main Street is something that most of us support wholeheartedly. And Raja was a member of Main Street. She resigned from that. And she rejected this ballot language to try to procure for her a liquor application. So it's very disappointing. It would appear that she's not going to be staying. And so I think, unfortunately, the decision that was made is proven to be the right decision, because I wouldn't have expected that kind of a reaction. I would have hoped that somebody would be grateful and appreciative that even though you didn't get the first available license, that there were reasons why the commission, and I wasn't part of it, but I understood it, decided to go with the party that we went with, knowing full well that we're intent upon getting a second license. And a lot of time and effort was put in on behalf of that second license by Susan Goldstrom and the Main Street Committee. So I'm sorry that it happened. It's sad, really.
Yep.
But I support the idea of returning the money to her, because it appears that she's got a desperate financial situation.
Well, I don't want to, we don't know that, right? So I don't want to create an
I said it
implication that that's the
appears.
case. No, but why even make that observation?
Is it, Peter, are we doing something legal in refunding this?
That's a good question. It says, the application for a new license shall be non-refundable, and it's separate from any state liquor control commission fees. But it says if the village's actual cost of administration exceeds the minimum fees, then the applicant shall be required to reimburse the village for such excess costs. I would take the flip side of it and say, if it didn't exceed the $100,000, you can make a case that it's refundable, but the ordinance does say it's not refundable.
Well, I'm not sure we
So
can do this.
can we call it something else?
Right.
Well, but that's shifting games. I'm not
I don't-
comfortable
I
with
just-
playing a game with that.
I don't know. To me, I think that the reason that it lists non-refundable is not for the fact that it's a restraint on us. It's again to manage the expectation that you're paying a fee that you will not receive you will not receive this
Well,
back.
both parties paid the $1,000. Both of them knew that was at risk. Right,
Sure,
so-
but my point
one
is
person's
that
not gonna get it.
I don't think that she was earnestly heard and made the case. I think that, and additionally, the $1,000 is to offset some of the costs for an election that she's not benefiting from. So while, yes, I do agree that there should be no expectation, that's not what I'm advocating for. What I'm saying is by doing right by her, that's where my motion is coming from.
And I retract my comment about her financial situation.
I just don't know, if it says non-refundable, we are skipping the ordinance because we, preferring one businesswoman, and we like her, and we like the business, but I'm not sure it's kosher from what I hear.
I withdraw.
I'm unclear, honestly.
So what's it gonna take for us to figure out if it's legal or not?
I'd have to take a look at it, but I don't like the proposal of getting around ordinances when the ordinance is pretty clear.
All right, maybe we should retract that.
I guess,
the
Peter,
selective
I'd ask you to take a look at it, come back to us next month and see is there another option to reimburse her for this?
What we're doing is we're selecting a business and giving them their feedback, and there's lots of cases where people pay fees to the village. So why do we choose this one?
But this was a fee to apply for a permit, which.
I get it, I totally get it, David, but,
So.
all right, so I'm perfectly willing to listen to our council next month.
Everything that gets
Okay.
similar to.
We can wait 30 days on
Check it
this.
out, get us, see if there's a way to do it.
We can
So-
wait 30 days on this.
Okay,
I mean, I would support it if there's a way.
okay. Anything else in terms of council reports?
No.
Administrator?
I just want to point out that you had asked us to take a look at signs, and in front of you is some samples of designs that Al Ludwig had arranged to put together for trying to consolidate the collection of signs that's at the corner of 14 and Franklin.
It's really nice.
Except
too busy. You got too much on it.
The question is, why do we need the Tree City? Why do we need the other one? Why is that
Right.
important?
I
That's
agree,
the
just eliminate the merge thing in Tree City, and don't we have a sign without those two on it?
Yeah.
The option is just take those two signs down, we don't need them.
Yeah, why do we need
Well,
that?
we're,
I mean, can't we hang, if we don't really care about the sign, I mean, it's nomenclature of two different groups that we participate in. Can't we hang a sign in?
Well, we have them at different places around town. It just
Yeah,
happens that
good.
that
Is this,
section of
is
road
this
has
a
11
replacement
signs.
for our Welcome to Franklin signs?
yes,
Looks like it is.
For
yeah.
all of our Welcome to
no,
Franklin?
just the one.
Oh, just the one?
Just the one at 14 Mile and Franklin, because we were trying to consolidate several signs that we have been requested to post by those organizations that we participate in. And you can say, you don't want them. There's nothing magic about this,
I get it,
except that we
yeah,
were
vote,
trying to be responsive to the
I'm more
requests
hung
that you
up-
folks had made.
I'm more hung up on the sign out here that we haven't progressed about.
What are you talking about here?
The
Yeah.
planning commission
Yeah,
did
that's
discuss it.
on planning commission this next meeting, I think.
Are we gonna be seeing some? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ambivalent about it. I think Al did a great job, but I don't really feel strongly that we need to consolidate all those messages. It's a lot of
I was
information.
thinking we just have one pole and have the signs, like a totem pole with all the signs if you really want to put the signs up, but I don't see why we need them.
But this, having a sign there doesn't change our commitment to Tree City, it doesn't change our commitment to the Rouge River.
Right.
It's
Nobody
just
cares.
clutter.
I'd
Let's
rather
get rid of the
Yeah.
clutter.
Focus on Franklin Village.
I'm looking for direction from you as a council.
My,
Do we risk anything by removing those signs with our,
A peak on the part of their,
just as far as affiliation, is our affiliation or participation?
I don't think that our affiliation is determined by whether or not we post these signs. They're asking for our support in promoting, for example, clean water or care of trees.
in every other entrance to town has these two signs. My issue was there's 11 signs between 14 Mile and Evelyn.
Yeah.
And we need 3 or 4. We have two 25-mile-an-hour signs.
We have one for the curve and one for the fire department.
You don't need either of those. People can see there's a curve up ahead, they're not going 60 miles an hour. Maybe they are, and they, yeah,
Maybe they are.
but, yeah.
Well, golf carts in the way, that's why.
But that's all I was trying to do.
15
is-
miles an hour.
And we're gonna have golf
15
cart
miles.
signs, no golf carts.
No golf cart, yeah.
I don't.
The message I'm getting is that you would like me to put this someplace else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Well said, pretty good.
Not a-
So I would just
Pam?
like, no, I mean, we're not doing a vote, it's casual feedback. I think they're nice. I
They are
support Tree City, I support the Rouge cleanup, and
And the signs
And
are
I'm
nice.
gonna go down, but I wanna go down saying, I think one of these signs with a little tweaking would be lovely. And I appreciate your effort to reduce the number of signs in that, and so, so do you wanna go back and look for another, another design, or do you wanna just ignore this? And then Bill Lamont is going to complain about the number of signs again.
Yep.
Can we just get rid of the 2 signs? Like, we'll cut down by 2 signs. If
Yeah,
we just cut down these 2, will that make you happier? At least, won't be all of
That
them, but at
increases-
least something.
yeah, that
We'll get rid
increases-
of, well, there's
that
several things.
only
One
makes
is
it
that we have these little circular no parking signs. Mostly, I think you don't notice them, but they're all along Franklin Road.
Right.
And I don't get why they're there, because you don't have anything, you got curb along the road. You don't really have a place to park. And if somebody parked, they'd have to park in the driveway.
Right.
And I just don't understand why we would have those no parking signs, especially since they're not all that visible anyway.
So here's a question. A few months ago, we actually, a bill, I think, asked for a committee to.
That's what this
evalu-
is.
Okay, and this is the committee's response.
Yes, and they said,
Okay.
we ought to get rid of the parking signs, and,
Okay. Well, then let's talk about the committee and what the committee is asking us to do.
well, they were asking you to consider this because this was in their effort to respond to your concerns about the corner of Franklin. and
Okay, Okay.
It's,
And we did,
It's
by
Al
the post
Ludwig and-
office, we
and Linda-
had 13 signs, was it, by the post office? And we now have 5 or 6.
So let's stay
So we
focused on
eliminated a
one
lot of
area
crime.
at a time.
Pardon?
Let's stay focused on one area.
Yeah, and this is, to me, the answer is just taking down unneeded signs.
Okay, agreed. I don't think many of us have a passion around whether the signs are there or not. So my recommendation is we don't need a subcommittee. I don't wanna spend additional money making
Right.
this sign.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Bill, I would just recommend, like, coming up with a list, proposing it at the next meeting, that's like, I recommend we get rid of these ones. And we
Gotcha.
just have that conversation and end it, be
Yeah.
done with the
Okay,
conversation.
well,
You're on the committee, right, Bill?
no,
no,
it's
I'm
not.
not on the
Are we,
committee.
are we undoing the committee?
Well, the committee was me, Al, and Linda. No,
Okay. So Bill is just gonna take it on himself now. Is that?
I'll make a recommendation to the committee, and the committee can come back.
I vote for Bill, that's great. I support Bill and the committee,
Good.
you know,
Right.
county signs.
Tell me what you wanna do, guys.
Okay, let's, between now and next meeting, we'll talk and
All right.
get Al and Linda involved, so. Okay, any other council? Or your administrative, I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
That's it?
May I make a request? We've got 2 people here from Main Street. Susan has to leave. She's got a commitment, and would you guys be? And George has been sitting here all night.
All right.
I'm sorry,
waiting for a
Stuart.
report or something else?
Okay,
And she's here for the
house.
consideration demolition of their house in Canterbury.
yeah.
Okay. So let's do Main Street before we do Stewart. Stewart's the kids
Could
are
I
at home
suggest
alone.
you do the
Can we do-
Canterbury
can
thing?
we do Main Street and then get the house, because it's
Yeah.
new business C.
Right.
Thank you. My name's George Vanettis with Main Street, Oakland County, and I just want to congratulate downtown Franklin for meeting all the requirements and standards for becoming and receiving for 2024 the national accreditation from Main Street America and Main Street Oakland County. Now, there's 4 pillars of an outstanding Main Street. It's design, it's economic vitality, right? It's historical preservation, and just organization. And I have to really commend Susan Goldstrom for taking the lead on this. And I would say halfway through the year of 2023, they were not on track to be accredited. And they really, Susan took the ball, Pam and Mike are involved, Jeremy from the bank. They took the ball, ran with it, and they pushed it through. With the work plans. The work plans were very important. They worked on them for several months. So anyways, I'm very proud to announce that they are accredited for 2024. So I would love to take a picture with Susan and with this plaque, and she can put it up in the wall, right? Yeah? Come on, Mike. Come on up.
So, were we never accredited before? Is that what you're saying?
You were
Okay.
last year, but
Okay.
there is,
We were in danger of,
We were losing.
Oh, yeah.
action.
you
Awesome.
were,
Great
you were
job.
about, we only had about 4 months left in the year, and they really kept it up.
Awesome. That's great.
You want, is that Susan's fault? Okay, you want to send it to Susan, send me this?
Mike, you're in it. The light's really,
Do you wanna go over there?
cut the light. It's really screwing up the picture. There you go.
Smile pretty, guys.
Yeah.
I think the right side's doing better
Don't
than
say
the left side.
heroin, yeah.
The right side of the picture is looking great, the, far left is looking shaky.
You got it? Yeah, I got it. You got it? So, okay, so congratulations, and I love working with the Main Street.
Good job. Good job, Susan.
Good job, Susan.
And real quick, guys, block party next Wednesday. I hope all of you guys will go. We got some new stuff. It's gonna be cool. Be there.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Do you wanna-
Good job.
the Pickering Barn?
So Pickering Barn, the Patronicity campaign, that is going right now. You guys should have gotten a mailer, at your house. Right now, we're only up to about $6,100. But we had a meeting today. It sounds like that we are going to meet the goal, actually, because there's gonna be a private donor that will be putting in the bulk to get it torn down and stored. But we're still going to continue on with the campaign. We will add that into that. And then you were going to talk to the commissioner.
So I'm gonna nail down Marcia Gershensen's contribution, and Pete Halleck is going to work with the private donor.
Correct. So, but still get the word out there. We're still trying to make sure it's saved, and hopefully it'll have a great future.
So I think, write a check. Donate to this. It's preserving one of the original 2 homesteads around here, and it's a valuable piece of property. So I'm really happy that it's gonna be taken down, bundled up, shrink wrapped, and stored so that we can work on together
Finding its future
what-
home.
what we should be doing with this barn to benefit the
What did I
community.
miss?
The Pickering Barn.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be saved?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
Close to, yeah.
That's excellent.
There's a private donor, so yeah.
That is excellent.
Yeah. So,
Good job.
did you want to talk about anything else, Pete?
Yeah, real brief, we had a lengthy conversation with Shelley Mazurek of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. George Venetis is on the phone, Jeremy Faberman, am I pronouncing his name, Susan? Very helpful. The urgency, you guys said wasn't there as much, could be because one of our applicants dropped out. There are 2 different options, and I'm gonna start off with the one that I don't think is the right option, just because it's, for brevity's sake, it was basically declaring a principal shopping district. If we went that route, we would only get 1 liquor license, and it probably isn't applicable in this situation. If we go the second route, which is what they call the A1A route, we would need a resolution establishing a redevelopment zone, affidavit from the assessor, and certified by Dana, the village clerk, basically stating that we have spent $100,000 per person in the village, so that would come out to $3,139,000 in that redevelopment zone, and we would have to state that it was allocated based, 25% of it was allocated for commercial purposes. Susan brought up the sidewalk issue, and the gal at Michigan Department of Liquor License said that wouldn't be applicable.
Would or would not?
Would.
Okay,
It
good,
would.
because that
They don't-
definitely helps business.
They don't dissect the money and want to audit or anything like that. Then I think the onus would shift to the applicant. The applicant would have to describe what they're doing, and their activities must not be less than 5 days a week and 10 hours per day. But she said it takes some time. George mentioned that he reached out to Lake Orion Downtown Development Authority.
Set up a meeting with Lake Orion, and they're gonna share with us what they did, so we can use, we'll be able to pick their brain a little bit and follow
Sure.
And really quick on that clarification, that money for us, 3 million or whatever number you landed on, 3 years back?
Correct.
And
Correct.
so we would want to establish the district as soon as possible.
Because of
to
that.
capture that
Right.
point, and
Yeah,
then we
for
can make a
sure.
decision on those other things later.
We're
Correct.
not limited to just 1 license.
Right.
She threw out 16, but she didn't want to be quoted. But it's more than
No, we
what
don't
we
need
need,
that.
right?
We'd be having an election every other
So we're doing this just in case
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
an
smart.
opportunity comes up.
I think
Okay.
that's the wheels in motion.
That's cool.
And George is gonna assist us, Jeremy and Susan, we
So,
can get this going.
yeah, we're
Maybe-
still going to move on it, so.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea,
Yep.
because there's so many buildings in play.
Yeah.
We just need to knock down barriers.
Right, we're
No.
so proactive. It's such a nice
Yeah.
thing to be proactive on something, right?
The next step would be getting the stuff from Lake Orion. George is gonna assist us with that. He'll send it to us, and then I can present it perhaps at the next meeting or whenever we do get it, and put the wheels in motion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, George.
Thanks for your patience.
Why don't we do this whole house demolition?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're gonna do you next.
so we have an application to, and you're taking us out of order, so
We're
I'm getting all
sorry that
screwed up.
you had to wait so long.
There's a house at 2543 Canterbury demolition request, been approved by Bill Denon, the Historic District Commission. Do we have a motion to?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any comments from,
You have a house
Counsel?
designed already?
Yes.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
anything you want to say?
No, thank you very much.
Okay,
You're welcome.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We got
Welcome
it.
to Franklin.
Thanks.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay. Stuart, I think, You're on.
All it costs is 24 grand to demolish it.
All right, so I know I've been up a lot today. So the,
Anything left to say? Sorry.
do you have anything left for me is really the question.
You never know.
No, just as points of letting you know what's going on in the planning commission right now. So this Wednesday, we have our August meeting of the planning commission. Our intention is to work on our amendment for cellular service ordinance that we'll be able to get to you soon, which would help us have a better definition of what we can control and cannot control with regards to cellular coverage when we have these applications. And then we're also working, going back to working on more pathways discussions and resurrecting some of the work that we've already done, and then make recommendations to council with regards to the locations that we recommend emphasizing. And then the other thing they're working on is the updating the sign ordinance for municipal use. So that is one of the things. I will say that, you know, we've in the past the historic district has had their opinion as well on the sign. So we also ask that they also attend our meeting to make sure that we're working together and choosing something aesthetically pleasing as far as ordinance goes that would meet the requirements or requests from council. So, I mean, so that's what I have so far that we're talking about. Any questions from me?
Thank you for your continued work.
Thank you, Stuart.
Stu, can you attend next month's closed session with us when we discuss the potential pitfall of not complying with or denying
Yeah.
an application?
Yeah.
Just because you've studied it, you guys are proposing a new ordinance that'll comply with state law.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. What time would it be? Just
It's up to council. We can go with closed session early, late, but.
all right. Yeah, just let me know.
Okay. Are you folks here for anything specific on the agenda yet, or? Okay. Because we have 3 more things here, and we want to do a closed session. We could
You had a question?
do
Do you have a
this.
question?
Well, since I was here, I've only been here 2 or 3 times in 24 years, but 5 or 6 years ago, I had some clerk business, I just asked her, was there any consideration to calling the deer herd here in Franklin? And, she said no, and I just hit my first deer last week, so.
Do you mind going up to the
Sure. So I was just curious, and, you know, I live in the 13 Inkster area, and there's deer everywhere. One morning I woke up, there were 17 in my front yard.
There's an Oakland County effort going on that we in Farmington Hills and, I don't know, about 6 different communities started our own conversation 3 or 4 years ago, and it's really expanded to almost a countywide thing, because everybody acknowledges there's too many deer. I believe there is a call north of here, and I don't know exact location, planned later this year as part of that effort. In terms of something specifically in Franklin, no, and that probably will not happen, because we just don't have a good place to do it. You have to have a big park or something like that. But the county does acknowledge, and the state acknowledges that DNR, that it's a problem, we need to work on it.
Yeah, I was just curious, 'cause at the time, I made some phone calls just out of curiosity, and City of Ann Arbor does it, OCC, Orchard Lake Road does it.
Absolutely,
You
right.
know, so, I mean, it's done, I don't know how they do it, who participates in that. But I just went on Google and stuff. You know, the average deer eats 5 to 15 pounds of vegetation a day.
Yeah, all of our flowers,
Now,
right.
where did you hit the deer?
Well, this was on my way to work on Haggerty Road.
Oh, so
But-
it wasn't here.
No, not in Franklin, but it was, you know, it's 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and it was a fawn who he had crossed the street already, and then went back. Well, he got up. I slammed on my brakes, and I just pawed him. He slid about probably 10 yards, but he got up and went away, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But sometimes they aren't that lucky.
Right.
But just out of curiosity, because I see neighbors that,
during the summer now, I never saw before.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's, you can see the damage that they do. And, you know, when they're hungry, they'll eat anything. They'll say there's deer resistant,
Right.
this and that. But I was just curious if it's been, because frankly, my grass gets so filled with their droppings that I can't play with the kids out there. So, anyway, but
It's a concern, it's not an easy issue, this
oh,
one.
no, I know there's a
Right.
lot of emotion probably with it.
Right.
Just curious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. We've got a closed session next on the agenda. Do you want to close out this lighting ordinance and a couple other things first, and then just do that at the end?
That's fine.
You okay?
Fine.
Let's do the lighting ordinance. We're calling this the second and final reading of the lighting ordinance. It's been rewritten after the last meeting, so it's almost a new ordinance here. Somewhere in your package. It's been,
Right behind unfinished.
I can't find it.
Yeah,
It's following,
Right behind
it's in
unfinished business tab.
unfinished business.
unfinished
Yeah.
business.
Almost, it's right after our budget.
All right, does this have
Ah, looking
all
wrong.
the language,
Gotcha.
does this have all the revised language, David, Sally, that you?
Yeah.
So you're good with this?
Yep.
It's a
I make a
slimmed down
motion.
version.
But there's a couple, isn't there something that you
Yeah,
had
well,
recommended?
I think he made the changes I wanted, but he, Chris Dusan,
Yeah,
if you wanna focus on his letter, proposes some issues that you guys
Yeah.
should address.
Yeah.
Asking us to retain certain comments.
Which are they're both non-residential.
I think the stuff that he suggested, he wrote in the ordinance.
The chart he did include, this chart, but the two items, 1 and 3, are not in the ordinance. They fell out, and they both pertain to non-residential lighting that Chris is suggesting as part of the whole kind of repurge, got kicked out that maybe they shouldn't have.
yeah.
And frankly, if they deal in the non-residential portion of the village, then that's the place where this is the most applicable and will create the least amount of issues with residents.
So, well, we don't have a motion on the table here, but just for discussion, do we want to add fixture orientation and shielding?
Well, we don't have a motion on the table. This would be, we're finally bringing this back for second reading. We read it the first time, we made changes, we've bantered those changes around a couple times. We're probably at that stage where we probably need to either move on with this ordinance as it's been written, including if we wanted to, Chris's comments, or it's time to say, let's just leave the ordinance the way it is.
I would like to make sure that this ordinance, because we've got a couple businesses that are gonna come in and with site plans and lighting expectations, Chris's amendment or his suggestion made sense to me.
Yep.
So I would request that we add this back in.
So let's,
So,
And
look,
you're not,
I've been back and forth on this, paring it down to this level with what David has took the lead on. I can finally live with it. If we're gonna have a new lighting ordinance, this is the ordinance that I can live with.
so you don't wanna put this in?
No,
Or
so
what?
I'm gonna move that we adopt the second reading of the outdoor lighting ordinance with the revision 1 and 3 in Chris's letter be inserted. And
Okay.
it looks like as well as his chart 2, although the way I read it, it looks like his chart 2 is already in there. So, all 3 of them with the presumption that 2 is already in there.
Okay, I can support that.
and you're saying a second reading, which is the final reading,
Final reading,
correct?
Yep. That's it.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? I'm pleased with it. I think it addresses the exact issues that need to be addressed and
Agreed.
nothing else.
A lot of the other stuff fell out. It's focused
Right.
it has a purpose.
Right.
It's
And if
nicely
we-
reduced from 25 pages to
Agreed.
a reasonable number.
Yeah.
So I can live with it.
And you know what, we can always, if something comes up that we need to make an amendment, we will.
100%.
Yeah.
We have a couple ordinances that we've recently adopted that are having their first go-around. It takes a year, and then, you know, after a while, when administration says we've gotten 15 calls on an item, that's the time you go and revisit if it was right or wrong. But I
Yeah.
think this finally cleans up what was out there
Okay.
sufficiently.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the outdoor lighting ordinance, which also includes addition of a fixture orientation shielding and non-residential lighting where site plan is not required, paragraphs in Chris Dusen's August 6th letter.
I was gonna do that for you. really.
Yeah,
I was gonna
all
do
in
that for you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did that in 28 seconds, don't give me that. Okay, what else we got on the
The
agenda
ballot.
here?
We got the ballot,
Ballot language.
consider the recension of the,
Do we have a
I
motion
make a
to
motion to
rescind?
rescind the resolution for ballot language for 32-731 Franklin Road, Lulu's Wine.
Is there a
I'll,
second?
I'll second that.
Any
Seems
discussion?
appropriate, the two liaisons to me.
So, Peter, nothing's changed since the last communication from Raja and her council? They are still on this position?
Correct, I haven't heard anything different.
Okay,
Okay.
it's their choice.
Any other comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we have the consent agenda, motion to approve that.
Motion to approve the civic event permit for Art in the Village on September 2nd and the bicentennial pancake breakfast on September 28th.
And second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the last item is closed session.
Before
we got it.
before we close, can I just circle back on the ballot language? So, we agreed on some ballot language last
Special meeting.
special meeting.
Yep.
We now have we made a change tonight. So are we good on the ballot language?
You already sent it in, perfect.
It's already done?
Perfect.
Did you get
Good.
confirmation receipt or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good, thank
Good
you.
job, Dana.
Follow-up saying we're good.
Okay,
Okay,
we have a,
So are we
we
leaving?
have a motion to.
Do we have to leave?
No, we don't
No,
have
we
to.
can stay here.
We need a motion to go into closed
Motion
session.
to go into closed session.
And second,
Second that.
all in favor?
Well, let's list the reason. I think
Yeah.
you guys are
To
considering,
discuss a contractual preparation for the new village administrator.
In which that the particular applicant requested that it be
In a
confidential.
closed session.
yeah, you
For
proposed
confidentiality.
a resume, and you guys have reviewed it, and you guys want to discuss it.
The personnel committee has, the
Yes,
council as a whole has not.
You guys are moving into closed session to do that,
Right.
That's what we're gonna talk about.
and the vote is,
The vote
what's your
is
vote?
7-0.
Okay.
We voted.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're good. Then, we have to ask you guys to leave because it's in closed session pursuant to the Opens Meeting Act. And any Facebook or any type of live streaming be turned off at this point. Good, thank you.
let us know when you're ready. We're ready? Okay.
So I'd like to pass a motion to hire this one candidate for the new village administrator position. When you pass a motion, then we're going to go through the contractual phase of bring that person on board.
Is there a second?
Second.
And just to highlight for the record that the applicant asked for confidentiality, which is why at this time, until we actually do the formal hiring, we're not stating the name in this motion.
And also clarify that the applicant was, what you said, one of 5 that you had narrowed it down to?
The original list was over 22
Right,
applicants.
let's put that on.
And then the in-person, we went through the top 5 that we had consensus upon.
So those people got a second round of interview, or those people got interviews?
Yes.
And it was from that group that you came to your recommendation?
And the choice was clear, and
It was a unanimous recommendation of the 3 members of personnel, which include Mark, myself, and David Solly. We graded the individuals on a scale, and this person was head and shoulders above the other candidates.
And the personnel committee discussed all other 5 applicants and
As well the other applicants that had been part of the process.
to be as frank and fair to everyone involved.
Any other discussion? All in favor of approving hiring, say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.
Good work, you guys.
Thank you.
It was a lot of work.
Guys.
Good work.
Be nice to see her back.
So,